Madam Mayor, it is 6:08 and we are live.
Thank you very much. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Lake Worth Commission meeting of Tuesday, June 6, 2023. May I have the roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor Betty Resch.
Here.
Vice Mayor Christopher McVoy is absent. Commissioner Sarah Maliga.
Present.
Commissioner Kimberly Stokes.
Here.
Commissioner Reynaldo Diaz.
Here.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Diaz will lead us in the invocation or moment of silence.
Okay. So right now there's an environmental issue, if you will, going around Lake Okeechobee. There's a major cyanobacteria bloom. So I just kind of wanted everyone to take a moment and think about our neighbors in the Glades communities, Pahokee, Belle Glade, Canal Point, because cyanobacteria blooms, if you're unaware, come with very serious public health risks. They're linked to breathing problems, liver issues, and neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. And right now, that bloom is brewing, and it looks like they're going to have a rough summer. And bam.
Thank you. I'll lead the pledge because Mr. McVoy is not here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Folks, are there any additions, deletions, or reordering?
I don't have anything. Do you? Does anybody on the dais?
I would like to propose something. We have no less than 7 proclamations tonight. Most of whom no one's here for. We have a CRA update. So I'm just wondering if some of these code enforcement folks are here, and Palm Beach State College people are obviously here, and CRA is obviously here. But some of these, I mean, I would just. Do we have to read all of them out loud, or can we put sometimes if no one's here, the thing has been to put them on the consent agenda. And I mean, unless someone has a burning desire to do it, I would like to move a couple of these at least to the consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, I will move my item G to consent agenda. I do have someone here for the National Gun Violence Awareness Day. So I would make that motion. I can move G.
Oh. I'm sorry? Are you here for that, ma'am? Okay.
That was Commissioner McVoy's item,
Right.
so I didn't know.
He's not
so
here.
I apologize.
I mean, that gets us down 1. Anybody else? I mean, PTSD Awareness Month, do we have to, it just seems like we spend a lot of time reading proclamations for
Take a
people that
minute and
aren't
a half
here.
or so. I mean,
I feel like if it's about awareness, if we don't read it.
Okay.
but yeah, I can move my item G to
Well, so,
Consent
and
agenda.
oddly enough, it's the only one that actually has to do with the city.
you asked. I'm trying to help.
I know, I appreciate that. So all in favor of moving G to, you'll make the motion, you made the motion, a second to do that?
The second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks. So G is going to go on consent.
I have that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so presentations. We have a legislative update from our own Representative David Silvers, Representative Catherine Waldron, and Senator Bobby Powell. Welcome, everybody. It's a big group. We're very honored to have you up here tonight. Come on up. Well, it's wonderful to have you here. You have to turn it. You have to turn it. All
There
these
you go.
batty weary,
There you go.
battle weary.
Hey, everybody. So, of course, I am State Senator Bobby Powell, along with my colleagues, State Representative David Silvers and State Representative Catherine Waldron. We, of course, represent you all in Tallahassee as part of the Palm Beach County Legislative Delegation. So we're excited to be here before you all tonight to give you the good, the bad,
And the ugly.
of what happened in Tallahassee. So I know I just saw the PowerPoint somewhere. Is this clicker for me?
Yes.
Or somebody else had it?
There you go.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so I don't know how to spell it. Is it here?
There you go.
Oh, okay. So real quick overview. Of course, in the legislature, there are 40 senators and 120 state representatives. I'm one of the 40, and the 2 representatives here are the 2 of the 120. There's 35 Democrats in the House, 84 Republicans, 1 vacant seat currently. And then in the Senate, there are 12 Democrats. I'm one of 12, and there are 28 Republicans. We have unlimited bill slots. So I'm able to file as many bills as possible. The caveat is I have to have a sponsor in the House to file the companion legislation.
Up, down, left, right, left, right.
It's like Mario Brothers. All right, there we go. My committee assignments: Appropriations Committee on Criminal and Civil Justice, the Full Appropriations Committee on Tourism, Transportation, Economic Development, Banking and Insurance, Criminal Justice, Environment and Natural Resources, Ethics and Elections. That's important. The Select Committee on Resiliency, the Joint Committee on Public Council Oversight, and the Joint Legislative Budget Commission. Representative Silvers.
Good evening. I'm on Infrastructure and Tourism Subcommittee. I'm a ranking member on that committee. I'm on Full Appropriations, Joint Legislative Budget Commission, the Criminal Justice Subcommittee, and Regulatory Reform and Economic Development Subcommittee.
One day I'm going to learn how to work this. That's you.
Hi, good evening. I'm on the Education and Employment Full Committee, the Choice and Innovation Education Subcommittee, Constitutional Rights Subcommittee, Justice Appropriation Subcommittee, and the Water Quality Subcommittee. Everybody just usually gets about 5 or 6.
So this is a list of all of my, not all of my, a few of my bills. The ones that are highlighted in red are the ones that actually passed. So usually we try to put passed in green, but the ones in red have passed. The ones in black are the ones that either did not pass or did not get a hearing. So we passed the Florida Museum of Black History, the People of Iran, the theft from nonprofits organizations, did not pass in the House, so that will have to come back. Disposal of property is pretty important because that's actually FDOT land that can be given to municipalities, abandoned and historic cemeteries, and then legal instruments.
And the red ones passed?
The red ones are the ones that passed.
And the black ones just did not,
We're not heard.
were not even heard.
There you go.
That's me, Representative Silvers. My name's cut off there. These are the 5 bills that I passed this past legislative session. I got 5 of my 7 bills passed. HB 117, genetic counselors using telehealth. That is a bill that allows genetic counselors to provide their services via telecommunications, like via Zoom. And 2 years ago, I actually passed a bill that created genetic counseling as a regulated industry here in the state of Florida. And HB 537, custody and supervision of specified offenders, that basically cuts off gain time for individuals that are convicted of attempted sexual assaults as opposed to convicted of sexual assault. And that, and then HB 829, Operation Administration of the Baker Act. If you've been following the legislation I've passed the last 7 years, I've been focusing on mental health, specifically on the Baker Act and our children in our state, specifically in our school system. This bill requires the Department of Children and Families to update the Baker Act handbook annually. It hasn't been updated in almost 10 years. Yet we've been updating the Baker Act statute almost annually for the last 10 years, which is quite important.
And I think that's becoming a growing problem is young children and Baker Act.
Yes. Oh, yeah. The numbers of Baker Acts in our state are going quite high. The number of children, adolescent Baker Acts is just incredibly high. Those children that are in our foster care system too,
Oh, God.
which is extremely. And then HB 1571, juvenile court proceedings. That bill just basically it brings statute in line with the current judicial procedures right now, allowing some proceedings to occur over like Zoom. Yeah. And then 515, HB 515, the Office of Inspector General of the Board of Governors of the State University System. So try saying that 10 times in a row. A few years ago, there was an investigation at the University of Central Florida where about $10 million was spent, and there wasn't any accountability as to where that money went for a certain building. Well, the Inspector General for the Board of Governors didn't have the ability to subpoena records of where that money went. So this would give the Inspector General that ability. That's it. Thank you.
Back one. Go back one.
Thank you. So I'm the new kid on the block. This was my first session. I was able to pass two bills. One was the interests of foreign countries, which basically puts parameters around countries that are labeled as hostile to us in terms of what they can and cannot purchase, primarily with regard to purchasing agriculture in our state. And then the second bill, 943, is the Acme Improvement District. That was a kind of a glitch bill that allowed us to transfer the a big, large reserve that cleans the water into the Acme district. So from the Pine Tree Water District, so that it would be able to more money and maintenance could be provided for that area. And that was important from an environmental perspective. Those are my two bills.
Thank you. You look at the ones that didn't pass and you're like, oh, it's so sad. But thank you very much. You know, some of us go up to Tallahassee. I think all of us went up this year that are
Yes.
sitting here tonight. I brought back COVID, as a matter of fact, and my husband ended up in the hospital.
Oh,
We had dinner. I was not feeling well. It was COVID. I gave it to Sarah. I gave it to my husband, and he was in the hospital for 8 days. So thank you, Tallahassee.
no.
And I didn't give it to you guys. That was good. But it's really, you go up there and you realize, and it's a churning mill up there.
It is.
Until you really see and you walk around those halls and it's just people going and people running with pieces of paper. How anything gets done is remarkable. And I know that you've had a rough year up there with trying to get stuff passed. So I want to I think on behalf of all of us, we want to thank you for your hard work and your dedication to a difficult position.
Well, we thank you as well. And I'll tell you, getting bills passed, not every legislator gets bills passed. Not every Republican who are dominant get,
Right.
or the majority party get bills passed, and not every Democrat. So being able to have a Rep Silvers, if you heard him, 5 out of 7,
Right.
that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
And then with Representative Waldron passing 2 bills this year in her freshman year, it's pretty remarkable. As you saw, I passed 5 bills, but I probably had 35 bills filed. So,
Yeah.
you know, the margin of error. Some of the things we got in the budget this year, the Cox Science Center and Aquarium, $5 million went to that. The Lake Worth Lagoon Initiative, $2.8 million that we have set aside for that. We got some septic to sewer conversions in there. The Lake Worth Inlet Singer Island Channel dredging, there's $1 million set aside for that. A lot of the water projects are the things that come out towards the end of the budget process. And it's almost like, for us, it's not magical because we know what we've asked for, and we're still holding our fingers crossed because the governor has to sign or veto parts of the budget within the next few days before we hit June 30th. But these were a number of items that we got in the budget: $750,000 for Peanut Island, the Max Planck Florida Scientific Fellows Program, almost $1 million, $889,101. The Financial Capabilities Counseling, Homeownership, and Residential Services Program is $1 million, and that's for Palm Beach County. And a lot of these things that we worked on together with Representative Silvers and Representative Waldron, as well as our colleagues throughout the Palm Beach County Legislative Delegation, to make sure that those funds got into the budget. Now we have to make sure they stay in the budget.
Are there any like leftover, like there's a term for like leftover?
Sprinkles.
Sprinkles. Are there sprinkles around?
This includes the sprinkles.
Oh, that includes the sprinkles.
Sprinkles already out.
Sprinkles over.
Sprinkles
We
over.
were hoping Lake Worth would be on that list of sprinkles, but I guess we didn't make it. Let's see. So
that's-
you've done really well. I mean, all the 3 of you have done really well for Palm Beach County, and I really appreciate it. Discount, yeah. Bus passes, that's good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7. Right? I can't count. My right eye is hurting me right now. So I was able to get $1 million for the Palm Springs EOC Police Department Expansion Hardening Program. Now, I was able to get that in the budget last year. I don't know why the governor vetoed that one specific appropriation I got in the budget last year. So hopefully I've been working with the governor's office a little bit more this year, and hopefully it'll stay in. So, and I got the Alpert Jewish Family Services mental health for persons with disabilities. That's, I think, my 4th or 5th year in a row helping them out. That's in West Palm Beach, but they help out the entire community. I think it's sorry?
Everyone in the county.
Yeah, it's everybody. Palm Beach County Transportation for Disadvantaged discount bus passes. That was $1 million. Central Palm Beach County infrastructure improvements. who doesn't need more improvements here in Central Palm Beach County? Central Palm Beach County. City of Green Acres, Swain Boulevard, sewer extension, another sewer project, and the youth program in City of Green Acres. And then, of course, ChildNet, which if anybody here is familiar with ChildNet, they need all the resources they can get right now.
I do well. Yeah.
So I had two quick appropriations. One was to help expand the Port of Palm Beach. It's getting $500,000 for their land acquisition. As you know, it's kind of a contained area, so every chance we get to expand it, that's good. And then restore reentry program, helping ex-felons reenter into society and getting jobs and housing, and that's a recurring amount. So
Recurring. Ooh, nice.
it's they've been getting it every year. So usually it's, I think, what is it, 300 or something, 250. So we got a little bit more.
That's good. Thank you very much.
So generally, we would do major session issues, and we'll jump in if you want to have a little bit more dialogue. This one's important. This is the affordable housing issue. I think Rep. Silvers, if you want to lay into this one, or we can kind of jump into it. $700 million added to the budget this year for the affordable housing. $711 million additional funding for SHIP, which is State Housing Initiative Partnership, SAIL, which is State Department Incentive Loan Program. You got the additional $1 million for $100 million for what's it called, Heroes Act, hometown heroes, which has been expanded to include more than just police and firefighters. Now, I think it works that if you work in a company that's based in Florida, you can now qualify for that funding. Everyone, almost.
Does that reach out to teachers and?
Yes.
All public?
Everybody. So people should start applying for it now. I think it'll be available July 1st,
Oh.
maybe. I don't know how that works out. See, well, school boards, term limits, school boards went from 12 years to 8 years. And then abortion.
Well, actually anti-abortion, because this takes it from 15 weeks to 6 weeks, which really basically means that you don't know you're pregnant by then, because the way it starts is it starts from the date of your last period. So basically, it's doing away with abortion in our state, and that's not a good thing. And it was not something that the majority of Floridians even wanted. So it's not playing well in the to the Republicans, and nor should it. So that's, I think we all know how we feel about that. So.
Sorry.
Okay.
So my wife just started a medication recently for an acne medication. I guess after a pregnancy and after our baby was born, I guess that can be a reaction after having a child. So she had to go on a certain type of medication, and she had to sign a form saying that she would not become pregnant while she was on the medication. It's something that I've heard about it, remember, from high school, but I don't know what. Is it Accutane? Yeah, Accutane. Yeah. And she went to go for a blood test a couple of days ago. And she said to me, the nurse practitioner said to her, "So what are you going to do if you get pregnant?" And you can't get pregnant being on Accutane. I mean, you can physically, but there's going to be so many issues with the fetus, with the mother. And she said to me that this is going to be horrific moving forward. And I don't think a lot of people that supported this bill, this legislation, realize the implications of this.
Well, I would just like to add another thing in terms of the consequences of this bill. You're already seeing doctors, OBGYN doctors and nurses who don't want to come here because they're not going to get to understand the whole, gamut of women's health care, because there won't be any, abortions here. So you see that happening in red states. There's already a drop off. So there's so many consequences to this. It's very bad.
Oh.
Next major issue was elections. So I'll talk about elections real quick. Third-party organizations that register people to vote and now have more restrictions in terms of how quickly they have to turn those forms back in. They also have additional restrictions in terms of what the fines will be if they don't turn the forms in time. There's a requirement that if you are a third-party voter registration organization, when somebody registers with you to vote, you now have to issue them a receipt once they've given you their voter registration. However, if you are the organization that turns those registration forms into the supervisor of elections, the supervisor of elections does not have the same program where they will have to issue you a receipt. So that has been one of the things that is problematic with this. Also, the law clears the way. I'm not going to mention anybody by name, although it's in the PowerPoint, for individuals who may want to run for president while holding an office like governor or lieutenant governor can run for president or vice president with some clarifying language that was added to this legislation, and the bill has already been signed. So as you know, that might be happening somewhere in Florida, but that was part of the major issues with this election law.
I just want to say that you can take out the word potentially.
Yeah. That's.
You want to do this? Go ahead.
Mr.
Guns kill people. So, basically, this is permitless carry, and you don't need to actually have any, teaching on how to, shoot a gun. So concealed weapon carry. So you can just go down the street and they'll do a background check to purchase the gun, but then you can just basically, you don't need a concealed weapon license. You can just start right away walking down the street with the gun in your purse or whatever. There is some, again, this is another bill that the majority of Floridians did not want or ask for. There's also some rumors that they might want to put a bill forward where it's open carry. And in fact, there was one representative who put it forward, it didn't go anywhere. But there is that rumor that we might be looking at open carry. And because we're in a situation where we're in a super minority, the Democrats are, if the Republicans decide that that's what they want, then that's what they will get. So.
I find it ironic. You can, in order to become a hairdresser,
Yeah.
you have to go to 6 months school and tests and everything else, but to carry a lethal weapon with, you just
So, yeah, I mean, driving a car and things like, but they kept,
driving the car.
but they kept saying it's a Second Amendment. So.
You have to register to vote. Evidently, you don't need to register.
Yeah, right.
Oh, sorry.
This is an important one. Immigration, and you can talk on this one, Rep. Silvers, if you'd like. I just recognize that you may have seen in the news or maybe on social media that there are farmers in the state of Florida who have voted for this legislation who have said, we didn't really mean it. We just wanted to scare people.
No, literally,
Uh,
that's what they said.
That's really what he said.
Town hall meeting. Yeah.
Tell your people don't leave.
It was just meant to scare you. So it has no teeth in it.
And this is very dangerous that we go to Tallahassee and people vote against their own interests. And that's not the only farmer who is a legislator. There's another one who is the legislator, good, personable person who will be the Senate president, also voted for this legislation. One of the things I will tell you is that there was a nonpartisan group that came before the courthouse and asked the governor not to sign this legislation. But I can also tell you that in Tallahassee, the group that voted against it and the group that voted for it was not nonpartisan. All Democrats voted against it. All Republicans voted for it. So let's not mix up what really happens here. And it's also got a lot of people who are not undocumented, who are documented, afraid to go to hospitals because of the fear of being stereotyped, harassed, or treated poorly, because this state has allowed hate to proceed and to be able to treat people as if they are less than because of the legislation that we passed.
I do want to jump in here for 1 second on the immigration bill. It's not just farms that are going to be suffering. It's building of homes, constructions of commercial buildings. On top of that, there's something that a lot of people aren't talking about. Women who are sexually assaulted are going to be afraid to get help because they don't want to go to the police. You know? Oh yeah, reports going down real quick. It's really scary.
That's horrible. You don't think, you don't think of the consequences?
No.
Yeah. No, I don't think they care, but it'd be nice if they thought about it. Yeah.
School vouchers. So this one basically took away the income cap for parents to send their kids to get a coupon or vouchers to send their kids to private schools. So basically, you can be a billionaire and still get money for vouchers to send your kid to private schools. So this happened. They passed this in Arizona, and they figured it would be a $200 million hit to the public schools. Turns out they were off. It's over almost close to $1 billion. So now everybody's suffering over there. And then they were all told that, don't worry, all the uber rich people aren't going to tap into this. Not true also. And then now over there, what's happening there, and it's just started to happen in Florida, is you have these charter schools that say, hey, I want to get some of that money, so I'm going to become a private school. So it's about $8,000 per child. So basically, you've already seen at least one private school has just come out and announced we're increasing our fee by $8,000.
Wow.
So there's so many problems with this. It's hard to even just hit them, but this is not going to do well. Again, I personally was against it. I know it was a hot issue for a lot of parents, but I just think that this does take away from public schools, and the money just is going to go into the pockets of private schools, many of them being religious schools. So for profit, yes.
So our full budget was $117 billion, and inclusive of that is $27.9 billion in the education budget, $711 million for the Live Local Act. These are some of the highlights. $400.7 million for the local transportation initiatives, including what Representative Silvers told you about earlier, the Palm Tran initiative. $107.5 million for the Florida State Guard, who have been activated. As you know, $107.5 million that we put in for the Florida State Guard. Currently, the State Guard is doing, from my understanding, two things. One, they're continuing to manage the corrections, the help with the Department of Corrections, because we don't have enough prison guards, because people who are guards for the prisons, our corrections are grossly underpaid. And we put that additional money in there to help out with the border crisis. I know what you're thinking. There's no southern border in Florida, but
We'll find them.
this is for us to send people to Texas. And then $25 million for the New College of Florida operational enhancement. As you may have heard, New College of Florida had a new board instituted, and they also have a new president who is a former Speaker of the House, as well as a former Education Secretary, and his salary increased almost more than double of the last president, who was making $300,000 to nearly 700,000, plus the incentives, including the travel and the housing. So it becomes well over $1 million for the president of New College of Florida, which has 700 students. So it's nearly $1,000 per student. So those are overall the major issues with the budget. I will tell you that one thing that we did do this year, they've talked about it over and over again. You may have realized that one day while we were in session, we actually did stop woke. While you were sleeping, an emergency alarm went off for everybody in the state of Florida. And for the most part, everyone was awakened at 4:45 in the morning. So we were able to, at least for one day, stop people from sleeping, stop woke.
I do want to actually, could we go back to the budget for 1 second? The 107.5 million for the Florida State Guard, I think I actually spoke to a major over at Camp Landing yesterday, and he vented to me his frustration. Now he, ironically enough, he was in support of the Florida Guard initially when he heard about it. Now, being there and seeing the type of training they're getting doesn't make any sense to him. Other states do have guards. There's a California Guard, there's an Arizona Guard. These individuals assist in forest fires, in landslides, in floods, any type of environmental catastrophes is where they help out. These individuals who are signing up for the Florida Guard are going through the same type of training that the Florida National Guard is going through. With I guess taking up time on the range, taking up time on different courses for basically being out in the fields of action. But you're not going to get the type of training to help out with hurricane relief or a flooding issue or a fire. So I just find that very ironic. I had that conversation yesterday with this individual who happens to be a major at Camp Landing.
So what are they training them for?
basically to go to war.
Against. One wonders.
Yeah.
I have a question. There was some talk, and I don't know how far it went, and I hope it didn't go far, is making local governments more partisan.
Yeah.
But did any,
Well, I think that may be coming from the school board. So it did pass, and that is school boards are now partisan races.
not, I was gonna, I think they were talking about municipal, local governments as well.
It'll be on the back.
Sorry, yes, it'll be on the ballot. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's- oh, okay, we get to voting.
But yes, correct. So they want to make it partisan.
Yeah.
So.
And that's a shame, because this is one area where we really have to be nonpartisan. You know, what, I may disagree with somebody's politics, but I want my city to run in a certain way. And they're very, very, I mean, I have friends that I don't agree with them on any level about national politics, but we all agree that the parks should look nice or that
Right.
sort of thing. So it's really, I hope that they don't do that. I think it'd just be too divisive, but let's hope it doesn't go anywhere.
Well, Mayor, I also tell you this, we as legislators understand that our position is once I'm elected, when I'm running for office, I run as a Democrat. Once I'm elected, I am the elected state senator. I'm not, I still am a Democrat when I go to Tallahassee, but if someone calls my office, I don't look at their party and go, I can't help you, you're Republican, I can't help you, you're independent. I am the senator for Lake Worth. I am the senator. There's no Democratic senator and Republican senator. We are responsible for answering the call for everyone. Once you're elected, you are elected to do the job. I say a life of service is the life that counts. And that's what really, really matters. And we've gotten to the point where, and it starts at the top, where people have become so partisan that it really impacts the service that offices are supposed to give. I can tell you, if you walk in the Senate on my floor, all of the doors are generally open, which some doors on the upper floors are open, but most of them are closed. They're unlocked, but that closed door also presents an additional barrier. So we believe an open door policy allows you to feel comfortable walking in and having the conversation that allows you to say, hey, these are issues that I have. When you see a closed door, sometimes you feel like you should knock, or am I able to go in? I don't have an appointment. Is it okay? We've got to reopen the lines of communication as elected leaders, as people in office, to let people know that it's okay. We are here to work, negotiate, and make sure that for us, that Palm Beach County is the best place to live, work, and play as delegation members. And for us three here, that we are working on behalf of Lake Worth Beach to make sure it's as good as it can be. And when you all come up, we're going to work and fight extra hard, because when you come to see us, now we're motivated to show people and show you, look what we're doing. We're fighting for Lake Worth.
And the three of you really have represented us in Palm Beach County very well. And we really, it's not been easy, but we really appreciate everything that you do for us, really. We know, we're aware of it, and we thank you for it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
And we'll give you all our information. For me, my staff, my office can be reached at 561-650-6880, 2715 North Australian Avenue, Suite 105. State Senator Bobby Powell, District 24. My staff are Diane Andre Esquire
Hello?
and Mr. Malcolm Summons. Our information is there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's Team Silver's there. Christy Friendly. Yeah, Christy Friendly is my legislative aide, and my district aide is Audrey Piedra, and the best number to reach us at is 561-357-4824. Thank you.
Chrissy Fernley is the Lake Worth Beach girl.
She is.
Yep. She's
And,
my assistant here in this office.
I'd like to recognize my legislative aide, Clint Stryker, who's here tonight, who was with me through thick and thin. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you all very much for your time as well coming in tonight. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. You got anywhere you. Stage right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're not next. Joan, it's all. Okay. Next up, we have a presentation regarding individual deposit accounts by Linda Charles, who is the Vice President of Housing Services at Community Partners of South Florida. Welcome. What? Just
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, good afternoon. I'd like first my name is Linda Charles from Community Partners of South Florida. And I'd like to recognize my colleagues, Jamie Lee Bradshaw, she's the Chief Strategy Officer. And actually my boss is here, Scott Hensel, the CEO for the organization.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to try to work this. So we are here to present our individual development account from Community Partners of South Florida. However, I think that it's appropriate to give a little overview of what we do at Community Partners of South Florida. All right. Am I doing it right? Okay. So Community Partners is we're a comprehensive community development organization. When I talk to people, I tell them that, or when we talk to people, we tell them we invest in people, we invest in places, and in system. So we work with the resident of Palm Beach County. We've been there since 1986, over 30 years of experience. Working with each resident throughout Palm Beach County and the Glaze area and Western community to provide the service that we are showing in the screen. So our community, our organizations have 3 service areas. I represented the housing department, and we have community, and we have health. Health is the largest part of the organization, and then followed by community and then housing. But where we live, and I say that all the time, is in that circle in the Venn diagram where all of our service areas intersect. And the idea is when we believe our theory of change, when we work together simultaneously addressing the different needs of these residents, that we can change the odds for them and their family seeking whether it is financial security, social, emotional health. So that's where Community Partners live. We have 40+ program and under the different program areas, and under the housing department, we have homeownership counseling, lending, supportive housing, financial literacy and counseling, as well as real estate development. However, the organization does no one door. Everybody can come in to housing or mental health. You can receive all the service that's needed for you to advance economically, achieve your on the spectrum of mental wellness, and also get in your housing and become a member of the community. And I talk all the time about creating neighborhood of choice. When we work in all these areas and we are building self-sustainable people, and we are creating community of choices. Oh, let's see. Okay. You're doing for me? So we are headquarters in Riviera Beach, and with different satellite office in West Palm Beach, Lake Worth. We have two neighborhood hubs that we call them bridges, the Highland Bridges and the Lake Worth Bridges. And that's where under our community service area. So the housing department work very close to the bridges to provide the financial literacy, workforce readiness for the members of the bridges. We provide information, we work with them, we provide training. And again, that's what we said, there's no wrong door. If someone come in and they are a member of the bridges, we work with them to get dignified housing, whether it is rental or to access the first-time homebuyer program. Okay. So that's our housing program. I'd already talked about that. So this is one of the class that we're showing. Under the housing program, we conduct Homebuyer Club. The Homebuyers Club, which one of the best thing that we do is a 6-week classes that we do. And we are actually partnering with the Lake of CRA to provide it in English and in Spanish, where people are provided the opportunity to share their experience, to learn about credit, budgeting, saving plan, so they can access a home. And we believe that at Community Partners of South Florida, once you purchase your first home, that's the beginning of developing asset. For most of us, that's the largest asset that you're going to get. And once you get that, you provide your family with some security, and hopefully you can blossom from there, whether it is accessing the money to send your kid to school or to start a business or to even build equity so you can move to the next level.
What is supportive housing?
Okay, good question. So our supportive housing program is where it's permanent supportive housing, where we offer housing to people with maybe special needs, whether they have a mental health diagnosis or they have any other what's the right word, disability, where they cannot work full time, their income is limited. So we provide housing at a heavily discounted rental.
So is it
really.
like an assisted living program?
It's not necessarily an assisted living because we don't provide the supported services on the physical health. But if someone has a mental health diagnosis and they are receiving Social Security or they are not working full time, they're working part time only, the permanent supportive housing provide a lower rental rate with mental health services, including therapy or case management. So to allow them to continue to go to work and to maintain their mental health status. So that's our permanent supportive
So
housing.
they don't dispense drugs, things like that.
We don't dispense drugs. No, we don't. We connect.
Health, that's such a big.
We connect them with therapy and a private doctor, a psychiatrist, if they need to be access medication. But I think the whole system ends really on the coordination of services, whether it is psychiatric services or case management or therapy when we do the permanent supportive housing. So, and we have physical properties. We have 3 properties where we have about 28 individuals, I think, in our properties that are diagnosed with mental health illness. So we have 2 actually in West Lake Worth. No, 1 in West Lake Worth. We used to have 2, and then we have another one in West Palm Beach. A couple in West Palm Beach. So, and all the services that were provided, specifically in housing, have led us to the Community Partner of South Florida Individual Development Account Program. We've done this for 10 years. So the federal government used to have a program called IDA under the Health and Housing Services. So we participated for the last 10 years. We applied for the grant. We received it, grant 1, 2, 3. So for 10 years since I think 2010, when we just started to do that, we closed and facilitated closing for about over 100 people under the individual development account that we've done, funded by the federal government. Normally under this program, you would have a bank with a custodian hold the accounts for those residents, and every month they put money in and we match the funds, And under that program, the original program, everybody had to be at 60% AMI, and then they will save a couple of $1,000s over a period of 36 months. And then we match them for another $4,000, 2 to 1. So to Lake Worth and John credit, when she knew about our program, but it is limited and restricted. We could only do people 60% and below. That means people at $40,000 or less. And in this market, I can barely get people in almost at $80,000 to get a house. So we're having a very, very hard time to get people in the house. Habitat for Humanity is one of the partners. When we work with clients that are 60% and below, we've closed several homes with them. But the idea working with Lakewood Beach and working with Lakewood CRA is to make the program 60% to 120% AMI to allow people to purchase a home and get a 1-to-1 match. If they save $2,000, then we will provide another $2,000 for them. Then they can use that money toward down payment assistance and or closing costs. We have some parameters. That means you're looking at those are the guidelines. You still have to be a U.S. citizen or legal resident. You still have to have a credit score of 600 because we don't want to set up people for failure. Because if you have a credit score, then we know that you're going to go moving forward with that. So you have to be enrolled in the program for about up the to 5 years, you can stay in the program for 5 years. However, if you enroll and you save your money within 3 months, we definitely can, get you the saving account. You cannot have more than $20,000 in asset. So we believe that if we have this guideline in place, we'll be able to support and help more people in accessing their own home, and particularly in Lakewood Beach and the Lakewood CRA.
I have a question. Is there a cap? So you said a minimum of $2,000. Is there an upper limit on that match?
The upper limit is $2,000. That's the maximum that you
That's
can.
the max.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
right. So you for the period of 3 months or all the way to 3 years. So because the cap is really dictated by how much money that we can put in, because it's a one-to-one match. If they put $2,000, we're putting $2,000 that allow us to serve more people. Now, if we allow them to do $25,000 or $3,000, then we'd have to match
that would be-
$3,000. So we would not be able to be as broad as we can.
Where do the funds come from?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, where do the funds come?
So originally our funds were from the federal government. We still have money left from the Individual Development Accounts Program from HHS, Housing and Health Services. So, and then they gave us $50,000, and that is dedicated for Lake Worth, right? But we raised money from different foundation. I think United Way was one, Wells Fargo Trust Foundation, Wells Fargo provided another $15,000. So we had to raise $50,000 and match the $50,000 that the government gave us. So, yeah. We raised that money. We have that money in cash right now and trying to get more people. But as I mentioned earlier, that money is dedicated only for 60% and below. It has been a very hard time to expend it, because if you are making $40,000 or less, it's very, very hard to buy a house in this market.
I mean, even with what your program is, they're
Right.
going to end up with 2, 4,
Mhm.
$4.
Right. So, but it's we leverage that because the $4,000 or the $6,000 max is really for closing costs. Part of what we do also at Community Partners is leveraging funds. So most of the people would have already received funding from Palm Beach County, or different down payment assistance program that is out there, whether it is, Lake Worth or Boynton, what we do to our saving program. So we would have leveraged that. The $4,000 they were getting is really what they would use for their closing costs. Because when if you're buying a house for about $300,000, your closing cost is about 4% of your loan. So any little bit help. We have our own down payment assistance, CP, South Florida DPA, where we provide $5,000 to the client as a second or third mortgage. So it makes a big difference in the number of units that we can close every year. So even if it is low, it's $4,000 that they would have to pay toward their closing costs or buy down the interest, because as you know, the interest is very high right now.
Is there any help for people trying to get into an apartment? One of the biggest things that I have found, if someone, is home, needs to find a place to live, they've got to come up with first-class security. So you've got $5,000 or $6,000 that they have to come up with.
We have that in our permanent supportive housing. Unfortunately, we don't have that in our affordable rentals. But I think we are working with different partners to more actively develop real estate, because part of what we put there in the real estate development side, a few years back when Scott and I came in, and we saw that the barriers was really inventory. So we actually have projects in Lake Worth, maybe West Lake Worth. Again, we're developing rental apartments, affordable rental, to allow people to respond to the needs that we have right now. We have the same calls all the time. They call in, they are being evicted because they can no longer that. But part of what our case management or housing counselor or financial coach does is connect them to the people that can pay for it, whether it is county or whether it is Catholic Charity or someone. But although we don't have the money for the affordable renters, but we can connect them. But we do provide first-class security under our permanent supportive housing when the fund is available.
Thank
you. Councilor. And this is the project, a couple of projects that we have in the real estate pipeline. We are partnering with the community land trust of Palm Beach County and Treasure Coast to develop a 20-unit townhouse at, this project is on Davis Road, just west of the Palm Beach State College, off Melaleuca, 6th Avenue. We are actually going to be in permitting. We are going to go under construction soon. We have sold about 8 of them. So that's a great collaboration with the community land trust. And again, having the relationship with community land trust help us to keep the costs a little bit down because, there's no taxes on the land and the land was provided to them actually from the county. And we went and purchased the property next door. So individually, separately, we would have done maybe 11 units. Collaboratively, because we put our land together, we are developing 20 units townhouses for sale that are selling right now at the 272, the sales is 400. And that is not for any townhouses in Palm Beach County right now. You cannot find anything below $300,000. And that's the advantage of working with the community.
What is the price? I missed the
272, 400, yes, for those at this point. And this is another house that we are developing. We do also scattered site single family development where we acquire maybe properties that needs to be redeveloped, rehabilitated. So we have 3 units. One of them is we just sold 3601 to a first time home buyer. She's a Sophie program clients where she received almost over $200,000 of very low income clients to purchase this house. And this other house, the 1334 8th Street, we are under rehabilitation right now. This is a rendering, and then we're working with clients to help them to access funding from the county or the city to be able to afford this house. And we talked about our accomplishments. So what we have done over the past year through the housing counseling with the housing staff, financial coaching, and the IDA program that we have done over the past 10 years. We are also a partner, a long-time partner with the Lakewood CRA. They under the NSP program with the community partner of South Florida, and now when they are reselling the property, we are the one that does the income recertification. So because all of these properties have what we call the restrictive resale component, so they have to sell to somebody who's on the same income category. So our organization does the income recertification to make sure that the people we're not losing the affordability because people are moving on. And those are the lending and funding partners. We work with, almost all the major banks that provide the first mortgages to our client. And the different governmental, so we partner with everybody. Like I said, we've been partnering with the Lakewood CRA since 2010. And we're working with Riviera Beach CRA and the CDC. They sponsor our Home Buyers Club for Riviera Beach, and Lakewood CRA sponsor the one in Lake Worth. And this is our information, social media contact. Thank you. Thanks.
Mayor, just one second. I also want to say community partners is why Healthier Lake Worth Beach is here in Lake Worth Beach. Community partners is part of what makes Lake Worth Beach work. So thank you to all the staff and volunteers. And I mean, the Bridges Centers alone and the work that happens, the lives that are touched through community partners is monumental. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Now, we have a CRA update from our own Joan Leva.
I'm going to dovetail just a little bit. One of the reasons I asked Linda Charles to come tonight was to tell you about the IDA accounts, because the CRA is actually sponsoring and putting in $10,000 for people who would like to buy a house within the CRA district. And I was thinking it would be a really great thing if somebody bought a house just outside the district and maybe there was money available to them. So just something for you all to think about, doing IDA accounts for people who want to live in Lake Worth but can't buy a house, particularly in the CRA district.
Could we talk about maybe taking that out of the 2.5 we put aside from ARPA?
We have a lot of conversations about, the next 3 months are going to be brutal.
Yes, it's coming.
Certainly an idea.
So I'm just going to continue on with housing. We've been extremely busy the past few months. We've made offers on 25 properties. To date, 5 have closed and we have another 3 offers pending, and 4 of these are multifamily. Buying homes is becoming extremely difficult, and multifamily especially is becoming extremely expensive. And actually, we're hoping to work with community partners. When you talked about rentals, we're actually trying right now. We have one under contract, and we're trying to get another one for them to actually run that. So they would be the owner and managers of the affordable housing complex, and they would run it and keep the rents really low for people in the area.
Community partners would do that.
Correct. Yeah. Let's see. We are continuing our home buyer club at Hatch. We have 4 8-week sessions, again with community partners, scheduled for this year. We finished one in English. There's one right now in Spanish. There's 2 more coming up later on this year. The next one will be in August if anybody is interested. Currently, we have 7 lots that have been or will be transferred to Habitat for Humanity for affordable housing. 3 of those lots are on North C Street, and they will begin construction relatively soon. And we also have a home dedication for a home on 322 North E, scheduled for June 29th at 10 a.m. And at the end of this year, the CRA and Habitat will have built 50 single new family homes with 0 interest mortgages. And we have 3 more planned. We're also working on 2 other programs that honestly the CRA has been trying to kind of get started last year. One of them is a residential paint program. We did put some money aside, so when we go in and we build a house in an area, that we can go to the neighbors and say, hey, we're willing to paint your house for you and make it look a little better. So we have a little bit more of an impact. And the other program we're talking about trying to start also is an aging in place grant. So for those elderly people who might need ADA compliance or maybe fixing their ACs or other things like that, which are really necessary in Florida. The Community Land Trust is working on 3 new homes on North E Street, and we'll soon have 2 new lots transferred to them as well. Constructions of those particular homes are being funded by Palm Beach County and JP Morgan. And the CLT tonight had a public meeting over at Hatch to discuss just in general the new CLT homes and the individual deposit accounts. We will have other meetings. To date, the CRA has assisted the CLT in planning or building 62 units in the CRA. And finally, after much help, thank you very much, the county will be transferring the lot on B Street to us. So that will provide a really nice lot for a larger family. So thank you for your help, Commissioner. We're continuing to work on NSP, although Neighborhood Stabilization Program, which is affordable housing program. Our money is almost completely out for that, but we are starting the community project funding, which we got from Congresswoman Frankel last year. We're still waiting to find out if we got it again this year. We're waiting for the credit to appear in the DRGR account, which is just the financial account that HUD uses. And at that time, when that comes in and our environmental assessment is done, we'd really like to talk to you about that 2.5 million. Inhabit, which is a private developer, is building village flats on 3 different locations on Lake and Lucerne. Small assemblages that were done by the CRA over multiple years. Of the 24 units, 11 of those will be offered to households making 120% or less of AMI. We're also partnering with you and Inhabit to build 3 parcels at the Lake Avenue roundabout called the Perch. It's been a slow process because we have to deal with FDOT, who are doing constructing pedestrian and bicycle improvements there. So it'll be great once it's all done, but it's just slowed the progress of this particular development. It's going to start hopefully later this year. It will include new lighting, new LED lighting, new crosswalks around the school and tri-rail stations, and also brand new sidewalks. New South Residential, 821 South Dixie, also known as Madison Terrace by New South Residential. We came to you guys and talked to them about low-income housing tax credits for that particular project. We're closely working with them. They should have their application in for the 9% tax credits in September. We'll find out probably October, November, if they got those particular tax credits. Right now, it's looking at over 150 units for 55 and older for households making 60% or low of area median income.
It'll be a big project.
Yeah. We're also working with Stephen Beal from Florida Housing Finance, who you all met, to buy down some units in 2 developments. One's a pretty large development and the other one is a nice small infill development. And that should be ready for the board to review this summer. Commercial grants, just touching on them. We offer facade, tenant improvement, signage, and infrastructure grants. To date, the CRA board has awarded 9 grants, including 6 on Dixie Highway, what that we're really concentrating on, and 3 near the downtown. You'll probably notice some of these: Living Design Group, Modern Auction House, Herf Jones, Yasmin Realty, and Gifted Kids Therapy all received money from the CRA. Our new website is up. It's been a labor of love for the past year. It's not perfect, but we will get there eventually. We're also working on our annual report, and once the CAFR is done, we'll have our annual report ready for people. Some of the fun stuff, Hatch Lula events. In May and June, we're doing our homebuyer club meetings over at the Hatch. August, we're branching out a little bit and doing Macbeth in the courtyard. Not sure how that's going to work. October, November, nothing but Day of the Dead activities. And then later in November, we have Arts United. Quick update on 1213 Lake Avenue. It is a burnt out building that has been burnt out and boarded up for the last 16 years. Our actual foundation bought the building, and with grants from, I believe, 3 different entities, we're building a new youth mentoring center. Construction has started. We're looking for it to be done by probably September or October. And right now, we're looking at leases for the future tenants. Excel Mentoring, that does mentoring specifically for kids in the trades. And then also Path to College, which obviously sends kids to college.
One would hope.
One would hope, yeah. Downtown Master Plan. Working really closely with Joe Cole and Victor Dover on dissecting and clearly stating what the rules and desires of the commission and the community are. So there's a lot of different plans that we have. You know, there's the thoroughfare guidelines, there's the historic guidelines, there's the actual plan that Treasure Coast did, and then we have a ULDRs and our comprehensive plan. So they're really sifting through it and trying to get, if a developer looks at it, they know exactly where to go to try to get an answer to their question of what they can and they cannot do and what we want it to look like. In the meantime, BG Group was supposed to sod our downtown properties, but last week was a total wash. So hopefully they can get it done this week. Literally. 509 is set for demo. We are just waiting our permits, and then we're working with city staff to activate that space around 509. Last but not least, transit. We're working closely with the city on the mobility plan, and we're also looking for options for future electric vehicle solutions. So with the impending closure of either Lake and Lucerne with the FDOT project at the Circle, and then also with the resurfacing that they're doing over the next year, we thought we should reach out to some transit people and get some information on that. Lo and behold, other people were thinking that too, Commissioner Diaz and Reed and the mayor. So we're all on the same page, which is great. I have sent them a potential map to try to get some more numbers from them and when they can start and things like that. And the whole goal of it was trying to get people to continue to move around the downtown, even when it's under construction. We're also working on some kind of banners, a downloadable map, and some signage so our downtown doesn't suffer during peak time. Last but not least, we are seeking grants for some of the fun stuff we do, box wraps, planters. We are also planning a Day of the Dead and holiday storefront decorating contest again this year. And we are working with a couple different small local marketing firms to specifically try to market Dixie Highway.
Busy woman, busy group. Any questions? You like, I know, you like that.
I just want to throw this out there. It was on the news last week that West Palm Beach is getting rid of the trolley system.
Yep.
And I reached out to Carmen and said, maybe this would be a great opportunity for us to nab 1 or 2 of those. So just throwing it out there. I don't know what that looks
We're
like.
going electric, baby.
God love you, but you have to have stations to charge all those electric vehicles.
Well, we have a partner who built a garage with electric charging
I
stations.
know I use one of them. But it's just something to throw out there. I don't know if it's something that we could look at as a temporary solution. But everybody has said Molly Trolley Mount. We hear that all the time.
Mhm.
But I just want to thank the CRA and I'm honored to be the liaison to the CRA. The CRA is near and dear to my heart.
Thank
For
you.
what you guys do for a staff of 3, sometimes 4. You guys rock and you're award winning and we need to honor that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So much going on. That senior housing, I'm very excited about. I've been working with the owner and it's gonna be 2 phases, it's gonna be those 200 units, 1-bedroom units. You can age out in Lake Worth. Now we are proclamation declaring June 5th to the 9th as Code Enforcement Week, and I think we have staff to be here. Yes, I see them. Why don't you introduce yourself before I read the proclamation? Go behind the.
We're the most favored division in the city. Yolanda Robinson, City of Lake Worth Beach Code Compliance, Assistant Director Code Compliance for Lake Worth Beach.
Bobby Hicks, Code Compliance Supervisor.
Thank you. All right, here's the proclamation. Whereas code enforcement officers provide for the safety, health, and welfare of the citizens in this community through the enforcement of building, zoning, housing, animal control, fire safety, environmental, and other codes and ordinances. And whereas code enforcement officers are often not credited for the jobs they do in saving lives and improving neighborhoods. And whereas every day, assisted by support and program staff, they attempt to provide quality customer service to the public for the betterment of the community. And whereas too many times their efforts go unnoticed, even after code compliance has been accomplished due to their efforts and expertise. And whereas code enforcement officers in the city of Lake Worth Beach help maintain or improve the quality of the community. And whereas code enforcement officers, through enforcement of city codes and ordinances, protect our property owners' investments and enhance the quality of life in the community. And whereas code enforcement officers provide code enforcement to the Lake Worth Beach community by fostering a culture that is helpful, approachable, knowledgeable, and of the highest integrity. And whereas code enforcement officers are dedicated, well-trained, and highly responsible individuals who take their job seriously and are proud of their department and the local government which they serve. And finally, whereas the Florida Association of Code Enforcement, FACE, has declared the first week of June to be set aside by local governments to honor and recognize their code enforcement officers. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim June 5th to the 9th, 2023 as Code Enforcement Officers Appreciation Week. In witness I have here and set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Lake Worth Beach to be fixed this 6th day of June, 2023.
Thank you.
You want to go down? We want to get a picture? No, that's great. I'm going to stay down there. Here, read all the proclamations that have people involved. Yeah. Ma'am, can you get them out? Thank you. I'm telling you, adapt or die is what I say. The next one is a proclamation honoring the 90th anniversary of Palm Beach State College. Whereas Palm Beach State College was founded in 1933 as Florida's first public two-year college and has continuously served the educational needs of Palm Beach County residents for 90 years. First as a junior college, then as a community college, and today as a state college. Hi, good to see you. Whereas Palm Beach State College, since opening its doors on November 14th, 1933, as Palm Beach Junior College, has grown from 41 local students in 3 classrooms to 40,000 students from 151 countries and territories, studying on 5 campuses located in Boca Raton, Belle Glade, Lake Worth Beach, Loxahatchee Groves, and Palm Beach Gardens, and online. And whereas Palm Beach State College, established during the Great Depression, when there was no institute of higher learning in Palm Beach County, is now an economic engine pumping $1.1 billion into the county's economy each year. And whereas Palm Beach Junior College merged with Roosevelt Junior College in 1965, which was established in 1958 to serve African American students, and whereas Palm Beach State College has been integral in the remarkable growth and prosperity of Palm Beach County. Our graduates, community, and business leaders for generations have impacted every industry and continue to do so today. And whereas Palm Beach State College, one of the top producers of associate degree graduates in the United States, also offers baccalaureate degrees, professional certificates, career training, and corporate and continuing education. And whereas, with more than 130 programs of study, Palm Beach State College is the county's leading educator of skilled professionals. Career programs span fields such as healthcare, computer science, business, biotechnology, creative arts, childcare, human services, teacher education, environmental science, landscape management, a wide variety of skilled trades. Real overachievers. Engineering, electrical power, and public safety. And whereas Palm Beach State College's mission of providing accessible, student-centered teaching and learning experiences in academic, technical, and lifelong learning to transform lives and strengthen our community is crucial to the vitality of the city of Lake Worth Beach. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida commemorates the 90th anniversary of Palm Beach State College with appreciation for its vital role as a provider of excellence in education and career training, and as a driver of economic mobility and partnership with our community, Palm Beach County State and the state of Palm Beach County and the state of Florida. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of the commission, do hereby recognize Palm Beach State College's 90th anniversary. And I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, to be affixed the 6th day of June, 2023. Thank you very much. And I have a personal thank you. My brother went to your fire academy and has since retired from Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. He was right down here. And his daughter, my niece, went through your police academy and graduated. Now she's a detective with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. So thank you so much. Let's, yeah, there we go. Oh, that's right. That's your color. Well, let's get it. Go over here. So there's a total appreciation. Thanks for each of you. Yeah, thank you so much. I was going to say that was a light. Reading all that. So there are my colleagues here, the Director of Public Relations, our Chief Officer of Marketing, and our business person. And you are Marty Sabrina from the Royals and Jay with Becca. 90 years. 90 years. They're going strong.
I wanted to say a couple things, and just a couple things I wanted to note, that the city has been so gracious to the college years back when the county took over the services, public safety services here. We were fortunate enough to receive the 100-foot fire truck from the city of Lake Worth, and we still have that in our fire academy, and we use it, and our fire academy students climb the 100-foot ladder as part of their routine training and exercises. We've done a lot of things this year. We were on Lake Worth Beach with our invitational, and we had fire rescue there, also the competition. And Mayor Resch was one of the observers. Our tourism, remember our students that did a tourism master plan? But what I wanted to say is I heard something just before of just all the community work that's going on in this city. And I wanted to say that years before, we used to do with our students something called Paint Your Heart Out, where our students would volunteer and go and paint homes for those who couldn't do so. And I would love to offer that as from the college, as one of our projects. We would like to partner with you moving forward. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. They said we could have that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Really, we love having you there. Okay, now we have, moving down, PTSD Awareness Month. Would somebody else like to take one? Would you like to take one? Are you on the gun violence one? So long.
Okay, ready? Proclamation declaring June 2023 as PTSD Awareness Month. Whereas post-traumatic stress disorder affects people of all ages and can occur after a person experiences trauma, including but not limited to the stress of combat, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, bombings, accidents, and natural disasters, and affects approximately 8 million people in the United States annually. And whereas PTSD is associated with chemical changes in the body's hormonal system and autonomic nervous system, and is characterized by symptoms including flashbacks, nightmares, insomnia, avoidance, hypervigilance, anxiety, and depression. And whereas combat-related PTSD stress among our men and women in the armed forces is significantly pronounced, given that they are often exposed to highly traumatic events for weeks, months, and even years. And whereas despite its treatability, many cases of PTSD remain undiagnosed and untreated due to a lack of awareness of this condition and the persistent stigma associated with mental health conditions. And whereas raising awareness of this condition is necessary to remove the stigma and to encourage those suffering to seek proper and timely treatment that may save their lives, and is up to each of us to know that the PTSD assessment form is a major tool to seek medical assistance. And whereas all residents suffering from PTSD deserve our consideration, understanding, and those who are affected by PTSD from emotional and physical wounds received while protecting our freedom deserve our respect and special honor. Now, therefore, she, Betty Resch, the mayor of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in her, and on behalf of the city commission, do hereby proclaim June 2023 as Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Awareness Month, and encourage residents to reach out to others to provide support and remove the stigma associated with this disorder. We call upon the residents of the city of Lake Worth Beach, public and private institutes, businesses, and schools to recommitting to increasing awareness and understanding of post-traumatic stress disorder and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with PTSD. In witness whereof, she has unto set her hand and caused the seal of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, to be affixed the 6th day of June 2023.
Thank you. Next up, we have a proclamation. Let's see, proclamation. We're skipping the city one, going to national gun violence. Would anybody like to read this? It's a very long one.
Here, do you want to come up? Introduce yourself.
Oh, good. Okay.
And I forgot to wear orange.
I am Cecilia Rhodesons, and I'm a volunteer with Moms Demand Action. And it's mothers and others who want to bring about common sense gun violence reform.
And we also have our own very own pastor from Our Savior Lutheran.
I think I'm one of the others. I am Jake Rhodesons, and I am her husband.
And I brought this forward. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. As many people here know, I lost my godson in December to gun violence, so this is near and dear to my heart. So I'll get through this without crying. Proclamation, whereas every day more than 120 Americans are killed by gun violence, alongside more than 210 who are shot and wounded. And on average, there are more than 40,620 people who die from gun violence every year. And whereas Americans are 26 times more likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries. And whereas Florida has 2,989 gun deaths every year, with a rate of 13.3 deaths per 100,000 people, a crisis that costs the state $40.3 billion each year, of which $875.9 million is paid by taxpayers. Florida has the 30th highest rate of gun deaths in the US. Whereas gun homicides and assaults are concentrated in cities with more than half of all firearm-related gun deaths in the nation occurring in 127 cities. And whereas cities across the nation, including the city of Lake Worth Beach, are working to end the senseless violence with evidence-based solutions. And whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is a major highest responsibility. And whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories. And whereas mayors and law enforcement officers know their communities best, are the most familiar with local community criminal activity and how to address it, and are the best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. And whereas gun violence prevention is more important than ever, as we see an increase in firearm homicides and non-fatal shootings across the country, increased calls to domestic violence hotlines, and an increase in city gun violence. And whereas in January 2014, Hidea Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at the age of 15. And on June 2nd, 2023, to recognize the 26th birthday of Hidea Pendleton, born June 2nd, 1997, people across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and wear orange in tribute to Hidea Pendleton and other victims of gun violence and the loved ones of those victims. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hidea's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 2nd, which passed or today, the first Friday in June, and 3 to help raise awareness about gun violence. And whereas by wearing orange on June 2nd, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. Whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now, therefore, she, Betty Rush, the mayor of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in her and on behalf of the city commission, do hereby proclaim June 2nd, 2023 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence and to declare that we as a country must do more to reduce gun violence. And we encourage all citizens to support the local community's efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value all human lives. In witness whereof she has caused her hand and sealed, the city of Lake Worth Beach to be affixed the 6th day of June, 2023.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, would you like, why don't you go down? No, I'm gonna stay down for the next one. Go.
Slower.
Here's my pen. Okay, next up is a proclamation regarding race amity. Whereas, insomnia, whereas the city of Lake Worth, this is a very sensitive microphone. Whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach holds dear the motto of the United States of America, E pluribus unum, one out of many one, recognizing the principle of the oneness of humankind and the rich cultural, ethnic, and racial diversity of its inhabitants. And whereas the greatest asset of the city of Lake Worth Beach is its people, and whereas friendship, collegiality, stability, respect, and kindness are commonly shared ideals of the collective citizenry of the citizens of Lake Worth Beach. And whereas the word amity has the same roots as amistad, friendship in Spanish, as ami, friend in French, and zanmi, friend in Haitian Creole. And whereas race amity is fundamental to the well-being of progress of society. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach invites individuals, communities, and neighborhoods in appreciation of the beauty and richness of our diverse cultures and ethnic people. I'm sorry. To strengthen bonds of respect, caring, and amity among one another. And whereas organizations and communities across the United States, motivated by the ideals behind the motto of E pluribus unum, will join together in introspection and reflection on the oneness of humanity while reaching out with a spirit of amity towards one another. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of the Commission, do hereby proclaim June 11th, 2023 as Race Amity Day in the City of Lake Worth, and encourage the citizens of Lake Worth Beach to join this commission in celebrating interracial friendships and showcase the power of interracial partnerships to foster lasting and powerful social change. In witness whereof, I have here to set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, to be affixed the 6th day of June, 2023. Hi, come on up and introduce yourselves.
Well, first of all, thank you all for proclaiming this. And my name is Penny Darling, and with me is Gina Oliver and Hyun Green. We're members of the Baha'i Faith, and we brought forward this proclamation. A central teaching of the Baha'i Faith is the fundamental oneness of humanity. And one of the teachings is that unless and until we recognize this unity, we as a country, a world, will not face our true progress and potential. So we're excited that you're honoring this day. We're also hosting a gathering at Bryant Park South on June 15th, Thursday at 6:30 p.m. If you'd like to join us with music and speakers to celebrate our unity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Always good to see you, Penny. Hi. Nice to meet you. Hi. Nice to meet you. Come on down. Here we go. Mr. Diaz. Last but not least, certainly, this is a proclamation. Whereas Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, and Emancipation Day, is a holiday celebrating the emancipation of those who had been enslaved in the United States. And whereas on June 19th, 1865, General Gordon Granger announced that slaves in Texas were free by order of the President of the United States. The announcement came 2.5 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which had become official on January 1st, 1863. And whereas freedmen in Texas organized the first of what became the annual celebration of Jubilee Day on June 19th. And whereas June 19th is a special meeting to African Americans and is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19th, and has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach encourages everyone to observe Juneteenth as an opportunity to reflect, rejoice, and plan for a brighter future as we continue to address racial injustices in our society today. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of the Commission, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2023 as Juneteenth in the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, and urge everyone to become more aware of the significance of this celebration in African American history and in the heritage of the city. And in witness whereof, I have here to set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, to be affixed the 6th day of June, 2023. Thank you. Okay. Moving right along. 7:38. Okay, Commission Liaison reports and comments. Let's start with District 4 tonight.
We have a lot to cover, so I'll keep mine short. I guess I'll stick to the fun thing. So recently, or past Earth Day, I had donated some planters to 4 different schools, and they created a display which was displayed at the library, and it was voted on. So thank you all to those who voted. And right before school ended, I was able to, go to the winning schools class that put that planter together, and we did a presentation, a book reading presentation. We had an art activity. It's really fun, and I do a lot of work in our schools, of course, a lot of education programs, environmental education, and it's always eye-opening to see what is going on in our schools and what the teachers are going through, and listening to the legislative update and the lack of things that are going to actually help schools happening in this state. So, I just kind of want to end that with, I think we as a city are in a good position to maybe look at what we can do to help our schools. And I really want to listen to our principals and see if they have any asks, and hopefully, in the future, we can kind of step up.
Thank you. Richard Stokes?
Yep, mine will be brief. I've been out of town most of the last 2 weeks. One trip for work and another one. It was the first week of summer. So the week between school and summer camp, I always take my kids out of town on vacation. So that was fun. But now I'm back and getting caught up. The one thing I just want to say that has happened is that we had our movie night planned at Spillway Park last Friday. We're all very excited about it. And then the rain just never let up. So we did cancel that, but we're hoping that as long as the weather cooperates with us this Friday, that we'll be able to put it on this Friday. So look on social media for updates on that, and hopefully we'll have a good turnout there.
Thank you. Commissioner Lega?
You don't want to go first?
No, I always go last.
So we had a Memorial Day celebration at Pinecrest Cemetery, and that was well attended. Thank you for all the volunteers and everyone who came out and made that special. I did for the children's pre-K graduation, which was super sweet. All these little tiny kids in their caps and gowns, and they sang "We Are the World," and it made me cry. It was amazing. So we had the cleanup on Saturday. I want to thank you to Grant Chapel came out. The Reverend was there. The mayor stopped in. We also had Church by the Glades from Circus City. We were quite impactful. We focused on the FEC Railroad between 8th and 9th Avenue south. And it was a lot. It was a lot of mess. But FEC did come out 3 days before, and they did a big cleanup as well along their own tracks, because they didn't want us to get close to the tracks, which we were very thankful for. So we're trying to move the needle along the railroad tracks over there. Also went to the Pals basketball game. Shona and I and my wife Dawn went and watched the Pals basketball team take on the Sheriffs. And the Sheriffs won, even though we were cheering on the kids. The Sheriffs did win. We will be bringing the kids in to honor them for their championship that they did win. And I attended Pineapple Beaches Neighborhood Association and Whispering Palms last week. It was a very busy week. And then last night I was on OutQ Nightly News down in Fort Lauderdale as a co-anchor, and that's always fun to talk about things that are affecting the LGBTQ community on the whole. So it's a busy week.
Thank you. Okay, I'll be brief also. Last night was the Bryant Park and the Downtown Jewel Neighborhood Association meetings, and what we did was we got together and really interesting evening. The Lakewood Playhouse gave us a tour. I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm gonna pay for that. I'm gonna pay for that. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. That other one, a College Park and Downtown Jewel got together and a wonderful tour, even backstage of the Lakewood Playhouse. And I'm going to tell you, I think we're going to try to do that for the other neighborhood associations as well. The Lakewood Playhouse is celebrating its 100-year anniversary next year. It is an amazing building. If you have never been in it, it's easy not to go in it because if you don't see a play, you don't go in. But we're going to have more tours, I think, because it is they do a season every year. They do musicals, they do dramas, they do Christmas programs. They have a summer camp for children. That is wonderful. A young friend of mine went to the camp and now she's teaching at the camp. There are a lot of volunteer opportunities. And one thing that's interesting that I used to do was house manage and be a usher. So you get to see the play, you get to say hello to a lot of people that are excited to be there. There's all sorts of volunteer opportunities there. For example, when they're setting up a show, they need people to paint the sets. They need people to sew costumes. They need some help. So, and the more I find, and one of the joys of being mayor is the more I find is when you get out into the community and when you see the people and the amazing things that are going on in this city, this is one of those opportunities just to see, wow, we have so much here. This is such a rich place. So I'm hoping that the other neighborhood associations do set that up. Thank you. Was it College Park for setting that up? I know it was you guys that did it and we appreciate it. Also, in terms of the schools, as some of you know, I'm very involved with the Lakewood High School, the band, and just their programs. And I went to the end of the year high school band picnic down at the Bryant Park South End. And it was just to see these kids. And I'm going to say to everybody, come and see these children. They have a spring concert. They have a Christmas concert. They have different things during the year. And I go, and a few of us from town go, and there's no parents there. Okay, I don't know what's going on, but we're gonna have to find a way to get the parents there. But if nothing means more to these kids than to have people watching them perform, to have people supporting them. And it's $5 to get in. I think we should do like dinner parties, go out to dinner and then go to the concert. Okay, let's make it an event that we all want to participate in and be a presence for these children in their schools. I also went to the high school, the end of the year sports award ceremony. And again, these are kids that are playing basketball, cheerleaders. These are kids that most of them come from very humble backgrounds. A lot of them need everything. And one thing we can give them is support, because those are our neighbors. Those are our Lakewood High School, and we're going to start branching out into the middle school a little bit soon. Those are our kids for tomorrow. That's our city commission. That's our business owners. That's everybody that's going to be here. We want to make them feel comfortable. We want them to feel welcome. We want them to be part of this community. And I would like to actually set up something that we used to do years ago. And I think it was through the American Legion or some group, to have the kids come into the city hall one day as a, what is government like? You know, they played, you know, they come up on here and they saw all the different things. So I would like to see us do something like that to make them again feel like part of this community. Let's see. For some reason, I just get very passionate about these children and seeing how hard they work. And, you know, there's so much negativity going on in the world now. You don't want to turn on the TV anymore because of what's going on. And here are these kids getting up in the morning and doing this and going to school and graduating and going to college and having been part of something. One of the things that we don't have in our lives, you know, with everybody on their computer and everybody on their phone, they're walking around like this. These kids don't play phones when they're playing basketball. Or when they're playing, these kids come in not playing an instrument. And in a few months, they're in the band. And I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And I was very grateful. I was visiting some neighbors down on South, Ed and Teresa DeVoe the other day, and I mentioned the band, and we have a French horn that our daughter used in high school, and we don't need it anymore. Well, it's with the band now. So that's the kind of stuff I implore our community to get out and talk to these kids and get them to know us because they don't know. The other thing I want to do is bring into the school speakers. You know, have a day where people come in and just explain, this is my life. This is how I got here. These are the good things. These are the mistakes I made. Let them experience. If you go someplace somewhere, you're more comfortable going there the next time. You have some expectation of what it's going to be like. You have some knowledge. When I was in high school, you could be a nurse or a teacher. That's changed. There's a lot of things now that we can do. And I would love for us as a community to embrace these children and to show them what a wonderful world that we have out there. And that's my soapbox speech for the evening. And I mean it from my heart. They're just amazing, these kids, and they're invisible. I won't be here the next commission meeting. My sister, my brother and I are going on a week-long trip to visit a place in Germany where my grandparents come from. And I've never been there. So it's just a 1-week trip. My older brother is very organized and he's going to be the tour guide. So I will miss you all next time, but I will be back right after that. That's all I have. So let's move on. Now we are at the city manager's report. What you got?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of things. Just wanted to share that on June 2nd, which was this past Friday, I was invited to speak as a speaker at the U.S. Office for Habitat for Humanity. My aunt and I were invited there because they were working on shaping a program for housing funding for the Black aging population, but they were talking about intergenerational wealth for housing for the Black community. And we were invited particularly to speak to share our lived experience in living in an area. I grew up in an area of Detroit that was highly industrial. Zip code 48217. So if you like to check YouTube, you'll learn more about details. I can't get into the details, but it's a very, very highly industrial populated area. And matter of fact, that zip code is the most polluted area in the state of Michigan.
Wow.
So she wanted to share a lived experience so that we can share how living in such a polluted area or negatively, environmentally hazard area impacts generational wealth through housing, because these areas are generally have depreciated values. So you don't transfer that wealth to your family. And in this area, our family had intergenerational history in this area. My grandparents lived there, my parents lived there, and so did I. So we represented that effect that they wanted to hear how, as they developed this program strategy, to not only talk about how maybe lack of knowledge, credit rating, education, in fact, impacts the lack of housing ownership, but also where you live and the condition of where you live also impacts the wealth generation and transfer of wealth because of those situations. So we wanted to do that. And plus I had an opportunity to plug in Lake Worth Beach a little bit. So my goal was also to try to, because funders were there, and so be in contact with those who are funding housing efforts. And so I do have a few contacts I'll be following up with, and I'll update you on that. So wanted to share that. So that was a great opportunity to experience. So it all went well. The second thing, I wanted to give opportunity for our city clerk. She has an update for us concerning online access to the commission meetings. As you know, we're continually improving to be user-friendly and have full access to the commission meeting online. And you see we made some improvements to how we accept online comments. So we try to make it more user-friendly, where you can sort through the comments and find the particular item you like to address. Well, the city clerk has some other updates that I think everyone will be pleased to hear about. And there you go, Ms. Melissa.
I'm going to share my screen because it'll be easier to demonstrate. So this is the main page of the website, and There's a shortcut right here. It says Commission Agendas. You can also find it under the Government tab, Commission Agendas and Minutes. You click on it, and that's where we see our agendas and et cetera. But now we have the agendas, the packets, the minutes, and the video.
I love it. Wow.
So
Great.
we have it going back to January of 2020, which was when we started using Municode. So Shayla and I went through YouTube, and it was quite something to find some of these meetings that had no dates on them and whatever, but we have found everything from January 2020 on YouTube. And now after every meeting, we will post the link, and every meeting from January 2020, every city commission meeting is on there. I also am talking to the board liaisons, HRPB, PZB. We'll also be able to post their videos, and everything will be in line. It'll be easy to find everything. So we're trying to make it easier, because on YouTube, it was very difficult to find the meeting videos. And now they're all up there for the last 3 years.
Thank you so much. That's really a big step.
I know Shayla and I were both so excited about that. And I want to thank Shayla for doing some detective work with me to try to find these videos.
Well, we've got a great team downstairs where we keep you in the dungeon.
Thank you for all your work.
Working with little elves. Thank you so much. That's really, because I have looked in the past for, you can't. It would be great to get the boards, you can't find them. So thank you. That's a wonderful thing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That concludes my report.
Okay, now we have public participation of non-agenda items and consent agenda. I have 3 cards for public participation. Do you have a card over there?
I sure do.
Calling up Jennifer Thomason first. And on deck after her is Jonas Rand.
Good evening, everyone, commissioners, mayor, and city manager. I'm Jennifer Thomason, and I am the very proud CEO of Habitat for Humanity. We, so everybody knows, we actually just recently in December of 2022 merged 2 Habitat organizations. So I was the CEO for Habitat for Humanity of South Palm Beach County, which you may have never even heard of because we were Boca del Rey Boynton. And then we had Habitat of Palm Beach County, and now we're one amazing organization. I actually do have some little things for you all to see, because together we are going to have a huge impact on this county. My colleague Danielle Iverson is here. She's our Director of Government Relations. So we would love to, and we will be reaching out just to set up some one-on-ones to introduce ourselves to you. We are doing some amazing things, as Joan already said, in Lake Worth, and very excited for the upcoming dedication that she mentioned, which is a veterans home that Commissioner Malega helped with a lot and came out and was very present. So I'm really just here to introduce myself. Look forward to working with the city of Lake Worth Beach, the CRA, and all of you.
Well,
thank
you so much. Habitat is a wonderful, wonderful organization. I know that some of our favorite citizens have benefited from it.
And they swooped up Julia Murphy from Compass.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. We're not talking. Okay, so we now have Mr. Reed. And
Reed.
You are the worst handwriting on your last name. I can read your.
Thank you.
Fine. That's a little teacher thing.
I almost was.
Yeah, there you go. I can see why you weren't.
Jonas Reed, 1325 North End Street. The end of last year, you guys all unanimously decided to put a hold on ground cover and AstroTurf violations on April 11th of this year. That hold, those 90 days are gone. There's many of us that sit in limbo. We still haven't had a discussion with the commission that was including city participation. I still think we'd like to have one of those. I'd like to ask the commission to extend that hold for a subsequent 90 days until a meeting could be held with the citizens of the city to discuss landscape code regulations.
Yeah, I don't think we've started enforcing it. I think we've kept it on a, maybe Mr. Waters, who was here, could help. But we know that we have things to do. We know that we have to come back to it. We know that
there are a few people that I'm in contact with that are actually working on lawsuits against the city because they have liens against their properties. So there are still some of us out there that are receiving violations and heavy hands.
Call.
Sure.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Peggy Fisher, and after Peggy Fisher, Todd Velez. Peggy, Miss Fisher.
Yes.
Who did you punch?
Concrete.
Concrete. Oh, no. I'm so sorry. That's your right, are you right-handed?
Yes. That's why it's not written.
I wondered. I was like, what is this little thing? It's so cute.
That's the only way I could figure out
I
to do
love
it.
it. Thank you.
So Peggy Fisher, 508 North A Street. I come tonight mainly to provide some good news and to share it to the people watching, people in the room, anyone who hasn't seen it on social media, and with the blessing of Restoration St. Louis. From their Gulfstream Hotel website or Facebook site, they have a Gulfstream update. And it says, "Dear friends, we have been diligently working on the hotel. I know rumors run rampant in Lake Worth Beach, but I assure you we are on the road to getting this started. It's not without challenges. Bank failures make banks nervous, rising interest rates, supply chain problems, etc. The good news is that it is well on its way, but we have moved plans forward, secured financing to start, received Marriott approval, and are negotiating further financing. Now we need to apply for our building permit. They say it takes about 12 weeks and then go."
Thank you.
That's more.
Oh,
I know it's a long process. I get it. This is from Restoration St. Louis, but we always said this was the hard part. No one looks forward more to putting a shovel in the ground than we do. Enjoy your day and know we are working. So I thought I would share that good news with everyone, people who watch our meetings. I'd also like to say that we missed a proclamation. Today is National Yo-Yo Day.
any others?
Oh, I won't share any others. But the point is, we took up to get to this point or get to the end of proclamations. We sat here for an hour and a half.
It's now 7, 8 o'clock.
I know. And my point is, I don't think they're unimportant, but we need to focus more on the city and on things that are directly involved with our city or national issues, gun violence being one. But a lot of us come here and we spend a lot of time before we get to actual business. So when people complain about how long the meetings take, look at when the meeting actually starts for business and go from there. But really it was just to provide good news and to acknowledge National Yo-Yo Day. And I would have had mine, but I can't yo-yo right now.
I just want to say I take issue with Mr. Gill saying that he's the most anxious to get this dirt started to turn over. I think we would take a little issue with that because
Well,
we are so anxious.
they are getting a lot of comments, not in the positive way,
Right.
across social media without a lot of good news being spread.
And we appreciate that.
And can I make one last comment that I remember? Lake Worth Middle School is our only school west of 95 and seems to be forgotten a lot.
Yep.
And I think as we look at schools to do things with, partner with, work with, that's one that should be included more in our city. There are students from 28 different countries at that school. So I just wanted to say it's part of our schools too.
And I think it's got the highest rate of homeless students in Palm Beach County. Well, the good news is our little women's group that we have, our little potluck group, we have named Lake Worth Middle as a target for whatever we can do to help them.
Well, I think they greatly appreciate it.
Yep. They just got a new principal.
Right.
Yeah.
From Lake Worth High.
Well, as of right now,
No, not,
Not
you didn't get it.
did she officially get it?
Yeah.
Believe-
As of when?
Graduation?
Taylor, yes. The interim that was here last meeting
Right.
was an interim. She did not get the
I
permit.
know, yeah.
But the assistant and assistant principal from Lake Worth High, so it was good. It was really
So
good.
they know the neighborhood.
coming.
Well, the assistant who was here last time there was a presentation was at Tropical Ridge last night. and said it hadn't been announced yet. So
Whoops. Yeah, really, that's not private. Okay, thank you so much. Now Todd Velez, and after Todd, Ramsey McLeod.
Todd Velez, 530 North G. Lake Worth, some of the things that were proclamated. Lake Worth is the Baker Act capital of the county. Use, away from use, abuse, it's profitable, it is a tool. Federal lawsuit poised with such a concentration. Evans Grant fired with code proclamation because he didn't react with Maria Paz, drag her through the coals quick enough, or a la Sissy Spacek, pull a carry on her. Yolanda Robinson, 2nd Avenue North and Federal. I'll get to that story much later. Almost became the third porn shop of Lake Worth's history. Andy Amoroso is running for mayor. My experience with him, some people are born and others are vomited. Pokemon and porn.
Mr. Velez, we really don't get personal up here. Please don't.
Well, and Pokemon and porn parties, the 30 to 35, 40-year-olds can share that story. And the 3Ds, the C and the R are silent. Docking, dressing rooms in the back. This is textbook example of abomination, away from an off omen. Gun control. Well, I've had guns held to my head, and for what? Dealing with the wrong people? No. They wanted to rob me or whatever. So it touched a spot. Royal Poinciana Park, the gun presented there would be, he would be, not have a record. He would just have to complete a course. Good for him. Arsonists, I guess what followed later that day would be up in the air. There was improved monitoring at the end of the school year. We'll see what happens as the new one comes around. The beginning of the school year that had just ended was they had the school police come by and use the bullhorn and honk the horn to get the kids out, but that stopped. It was short term. First Presbyterian Church downtown, Lake Worth, we had an individual run which worked with the police. His name was Owen Mitchell, and he had a gun and he pistol whipped someone in the 200 block of and stole their car. The car shut down by alarm, and also he ran into a concrete planter. They brought the dogs into the church property, into the building, looking for this person. They found him. He said he didn't do it. He went on merry way. We also had a few days before that, a shooting at Lagomar. That person died. What the connection is, I don't know. We also had another neighbor that was an informant. I won't leave her name out. And she used to tell me quite a few things, and also why I was finding out what was going on. So tarot cards, magic 8-ball, tea leaves, bones, say whatever. I find out. I see too much. So
Thank you. That's time.
I have more to say later.
Thank you. Last but certainly not least, Ramsey McLeod. Well,
it will be coherent. Okay, I see the look on your face.
Thank you.
Ramsey McLeod, 24 South C Street. I come to you tonight following several other residents have raised great concern to you. And this is about Church by the Glades and their outreach to the homeless people in our city. Their efforts are to be lauded and their hearts are in the right place. However, when your quote unquote good works have a detrimental impact to the neighborhood around there and the citizens in this city, it's not a hand up, it's a handout. Instead of being a beacon of hope for all in our community, they become a flashing billboard, lighting up the sky, letting every other homeless person in this area and even out of counties outside of Palm Beach to come here because they know they can get food, they can get clothing, they can get cleaned up, they get hygiene, haircuts. If they come here, that word spreads incredibly fast. There's a great communication network, and our city is growing into a mini tent city that we had the issues in John Prince Park. And we also, I'm seeing all over Facebook, the south end of Bryant Park. There's a lot of concern. Parents want to take their kids there now that they're out of school, but they are very concerned about the element of men in particular that hang there. The damage that's been done to Bryant Park by these so-called people who want to help the homeless people. Benches are missing out in front of the band shell. They've been physically moved when city staff say you need a forklift to move it. But somehow these homeless people can get a bunch of them, move it to it's over to the shade so they can hold their meetings. And God bless PBSO, and Captain Bear has done so much, but his police officers' hands are getting tied more and more and more every day on this social issue because of case law. So the residents are really looking to the city to, you need to change what Church by the Glades is. It's another vendor in this city. It's another player, just like the Lord's Place, just like Goodwill, taking these people, putting a shelter over their head with no consequence for them, no request for behavioral changes. No, I mean, I'd love to be homeless and come down to Florida and stay in a coastal town and not have to worry who's going to feed me, who's going to provide for me, and the rest of it. As long as I don't have to change my behavior patterns, I'm in. And that's what's happening. We're collecting and attracting the wrong kind of tourism because of what Church by the Glades is doing. And I would ask that the city change their identification to put them in the same classification as the Lord's Place and Goodwill and treat them in the same manner. They are conducting a business that's detrimental. It's devaluating houses in the neighborhood. It's making the nearby neighbors unsafe in their own property. They can't pursue their own happiness because they don't feel safe and secure. And it's no fault of PBSO, but there are players in the game that aren't looking at the fallout, the negative ripple effects of their actions are having. They want to help, get a bus, take them out to the homeless shelter that already exists. Let these people know where there is the shelter. Put the buses with the showers in them out there, give them their hygiene products, bring the agencies out there to talk to them and show these people there's real entities out here that want to help you with your struggles in life and help you with a hand up and not a hand out. And the stand down house for veterans is a perfect example for these people who come out to consult with and get an idea how you put a business plan together and how you do proper outreach that doesn't have a detrimental effect for people who have invested in property in our city, continue to participate and volunteer in our city. But when we see all our efforts and we see everything we've done be eroded away because there's a social issue that one entity in the city wants to try to help out, we've got to find a better plan to this, a better solution. And we can't solve all the problems, but we can help and start protecting our own city and start empowering our city employees to do something with these people and protect our property.
Thank you. That's time.
Yeah, thank you.
Madam Mayor, can I just, it's not Church by the Glades that does the feeding on Saturdays. They allow their property to be used. It's restoration.
Right.
And it's the Burrito Project.
Right.
Church by the Glades is allowing them to use the property. They're not the ones providing the service.
But if they didn't, they wouldn't be there.
But I'm just saying.
What about the showers and the washing machine?
That's not provided by Church by the Glades.
No,
That's
it's all on their property then. I mean, I understand that. And, you know, I live right across the street and I haven't noticed, but there have been quite a few issues in the past few weeks about people sleeping in our yards, people taking shower. My sister woke up one day and there was a lady using her hose to take a bath in her front yard. So it's not just Church by the Glades. It is a big problem all around. And as far as the Bryant Park, tomorrow is my meeting with the city manager. And one of the things on my list is Bryant Park is becoming an issue again. And I'm going to ask the sheriff's office to chime in at some point because it is now summer and kids are using that park. And a lot of, people are going to the bathroom, like men and women are going into the bathrooms and coming out 10 minutes later and that sort of thing. And it's not good. That's where our kids are. So I think we hear you and yes, our hands are tied a lot, but let's try to do something. All right,
Mayor?
Yeah.
I have one person on Zoom for public participation.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Brady, you have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Name and address first, please.
Keith Brady, Attorney Keith Brady with Florida Vacation Rental Law. And my address is 1403 Durling Drive South, South Pasadena, Florida, 33707.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. Now, my camera's not on. Am I doing anything wrong or is that okay?
I think you turn your own camera on.
Okay, well, I may have a technical block there. It's on as far as I can tell. Moving forward, I first want to thank you all. I have a great deal of respect for the city and let you know I was asked by your city attorney, Glenn, to attend to introduce myself. And the reason I got involved in the city is because I have clients that were approached with an opportunity to sue you with a free attorney over the vacation rental regulations, being in violation of the state preemption. And they instead chose to hire me. Instead of a free attorney for a lawsuit, they're paying me to reach out cooperatively to try to resolve this amicably. And a core part of my business is that at my client's expense, of course, and no expense to the city, I approach cities and let you know, I'm not asking you to choose between risking losing a lawsuit versus surrendering your need to address the problems of vacation rentals. I'm actually an authority that can show how you can build regulations that are compliant with the state preemption and are much more effective than anything that you have even considered. And I'll leave you with one example. Instead of an occupancy limit to quash parties, I worked on a policy development team with the State Sheriff's Association to bring them in as a stakeholder to throw everybody out, including the renters, with no warning, no notice, and it takes about a half hour. And we 100% stop parties, as an example. And I think my time's probably up now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we are on consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Approval of the minutes.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Now, resolution 18-2023, maintenance memorandum of agreement and local
I'm
funding.
sorry, Madam Mayor, that's on consent. You're going to move to unfinished business.
About that. Public hearings. Ordinance.
Oh, I'm
number-
sorry, public hearings.
Yes, 2023-09, second reading, revising the Finance Advisory Board. I do have one public comment, and Mr. Sivia, would you read the ordinance, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 2023-09 in the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, revising chapter 2, article 17, section 2-130 through 2-135 of the Code of Ordinances regarding the city of Lake Worth Beach Finance Advisory Board, including purpose, duties, membership, and meetings of the board, and for codification, providing for appeal of conflict, severability, and an effective date.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have public comment. Mr. Reed? Madam Clerk, do you need public comment?
I have no more public comment for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you.
Jonas Reed, 1325 North End Street. Here again, we have ordinances to these advisory boards, and I don't know why when you put them in the package, if you read through the package, we're striking out all of the clauses that give term limits to these advisory board positions. I think it's a slippery slope to put people in advisory board positions from elected officials that do not have term limits or any stipulations for when they will expire from those positions, aside from death. We did this with the tree board previously, and now we're trying to do it with the financial advisory board. I'm a firm believer if we're going to write these ordinances, they should have term limits associated with them. So these people do not reign in perpetuity with no way of removing them other than them just not showing up.
Well, actually, that's not true. They can be removed without cause. I mean, they serve at the pleasure of the of the commission. They
If you
can be
read the
removed.
ordinance, it doesn't specify any of
I,
that. So as a citizen, it's just a little concerning.
Just as a note, when I went through my agenda, my one note is, last year, 2 years ago, we did quite a bit of changes to the advisory boards and how they came on. And my note right here is may have made a mistake with no term limits. I think, or not, or how it comes. I'd like to look at that again, not tonight, obviously, but just I think that I don't necessarily disagree with you.
Yeah, that's it. I just think there should be term limits.
Thanks. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Next, ordinance number 2023-11, first reading, approving a city initiated zoning map amendment from multifamily residential MF20 to transit-oriented development TOD-E for the properties located east of I-95, south of 2nd Avenue North, west of North A Street, and north of Lake Worth Road. Do we have a presentation from our staff?
We do, but the city attorney needs to read the ordinance.
Well, I meant after he read the
Oh,
ordinance.
yes, me.
I knew that.
Yeah,
I got it.
for some reason, I don't know what that is, but that's.
Ordinance number 2023-11 of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending the city's official zoning map from the zoning district of multifamily residential 20 MF20 to transit-oriented development TODE on the properties generally located east of I-95, south of 2nd Avenue North, west of North A Street, and north of Lake Worth Road, and more particularly described in Exhibit A, providing for conflicting ordinances are repealed, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Well done. Now, Ms. Sita, would you like to tell us what's going
Um, so, as a city attorney ably announced, this is the ordinance 2023-11. This is the first reading. This is a city initiated zoning map amendment. Sometimes that's also called a rezoning. It is from the multifamily 20 district to the TOD East district, and it's for the properties that are generally located east of 95, south of 2nd Avenue North, west of North A Street, and north of Lake Worth Road. I'm trying to do my best not to speed my presentation.
Right,
I'm working on it.
Slow down.
So you can see here, this is a picture of the zoning map amendment, and it shows it as being MF20. So here are the existing conditions. The existing conditions here make up, there are 2 non-residential office commercial buildings. There are several multifamily structures that exceed the density of 20 units an acre. There are 2 single families, but there are only 2 single families in the entire area. The bulk of the existing uses are currently non-conforming with the current zoning district. And so here I kind of break it down a little bit. Again, there's 15 parcels, just shy of 9 acres. We talked about the office uses, and there are of 4.63 acres of the 8.9 acres have multifamily development that exceed the maximum density under the MF20 district. And this map amendment would correct these nonconformities. So it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And I also want to point out that in the comprehensive plan, there are locational policies for our zoning districts that implement our future land use designations. And we can say that 3 times fast, So these locational criteria for the TOD district actually specify that this is the correct area for the TOD's East district. So that's actually specified in our comprehensive plan. And that was the intent, is that over time, when the area was ready to rezone this to the intended zoning district for the area. It's also consistent with our strategic plan, our land development regulations, our rezoning criteria, in our LDRs, and it will better reflect the existing uses in the area. What we do for these city initiated amendments is we actually send a mailer out to the individual property owners. And we basically give them the ability to opt out of the rezoning should they so desire. And I give them my personal email and I say, hey, email me if you have any questions about the rezoning. Give us a call. We'll talk you through it. And I have received no correspondence from any of the subject property owners on this. And we did not get any of the mailers back, like in return mail. So they all went out and they all arrived at their destination. So in addition, of course, we did the 400-foot notice mailers. We did the signs as well. So the Planning and Zoning Board considered the amendment at their May 24th meeting, and they voted to recommend approval unanimously of the subject rezoning to the City Commission. So this recommendation was not included in your staff report because of the time. There was a timing issue. So our publication date for our staff report occurred prior to the Planning and Zoning Board meeting. So in the staff report, you'll note that it says, hey, staff is going to present this to you at the meeting. So here we are presenting it to you at the meeting.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
I think I have a comment card. Yeah, I have a comment card. Also, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Stokes. What would happen if somebody was like, if that little one family was a holdout? Would there be a hole in that TOD zoning then? Just that
could potentially be. I've never seen it where a city is rezoning your property where it's to something that gives you a higher value, where somebody has been like, no, don't do that, please, you know.
Okay.
So
good. Okay, I think Commissioner Diaz was first.
Yeah, I wanted to make the motion, but this is a long time coming for a lot of reasons, and I'm really happy that it gets to protect one of our best services, assets in town that we'll hear from soon. But also, all those properties on that corridor, there's a lot of improvement coming between the perch, the streetscaping, that east-west corridor, that section of it has been in dire need of attention, and this is going to be huge for that. So it doesn't surprise me that anybody would be against this.
Right, Commissioner Stokes.
I'm excited for this change as well, and I would like to just say publicly, I would hope that we can, to the city manager and to my colleagues, that I would like us to look at other areas of the city where there are a lot of non-conforming properties. I have heard a lot of complaints of buying a multifamily home, wanting to fix it up, but you're non-conforming now. So if you invest money in that home, you can't exceed a certain limit, and now you're non-conforming, and now it remains. And I've heard complaints. Right. So if there's like deteriorating homes, like let's say in Mango Groves, and they're multifamily and they exceed density, whatever, if they aren't conforming, it really makes it challenging for improvements to happen to those properties. So this is an area where we have a lot of non-conforming properties that we want to correct, which I'm in favor of. But I have heard about this issue throughout the city and not just this one area. So I'd like for us to start identifying some other areas where we'd like to bring our properties in conformity to make it easier for people to invest in their properties.
Okay, thank you. What was I going to say? Oh, I would love to see the school board landscape their parking lot. Just saying. They own it. They bought it from us a few years ago, and nobody ever said plant a tree. So I'm just putting in my 2 cents. Peggy Fisher. Yes. Okay. And there are none from the clerk. So we have a motion, I think, and a second. Yep.
We have comments.
What?
I think we have. Do we have comments?
No.
Line?
No.
Okay.
Nope. No. So all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Passes unanimously. Moving right along. Okay, this is the FAU Housing Emergency Study and Policy Response Analysis. This is not an ordinance, so don't have to have you. Valentina show.
Okay. Good evening, Valentina Susteda, Assistant Finance Director for Purchasing. Tonight, we do have a final agreement with Florida Atlantic University for the housing emergency study and policy response analysis. This agreement has been negotiated and it has revised scope of services and it has revised timelines. I have here Dr. Levin, if he would like to give you a short description of the revised scope and the timelines.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Levin.
From FAU. Nice to see everybody again. So we were here in March to present the original proposal for the housing study. And afterwards, we were asked to make a few minor changes. And then also there was obviously a big bill, the Live Local Act, which kind of caused us to change the study. So I'll just give you a brief overview of the changes that we've made. So in the March presentation, you'd given us some good feedback for how we could improve the study. So we have incorporated your feedback. So first of all, we're going to be doing now an analysis of how short-term vacation rentals have impacted housing prices here in Lake Worth Beach. Secondly, I think Commissioner Diaz had recommended that we do an analysis of how an accessory dwelling unit program would impact housing cost here. So we've developed a plan to incorporate that into the project as well. And then I guess the third suggestion that we've implemented has to do with the timeline of the study. So originally we were planning to give you all a comprehensive report that would be delivered next year. But to make the report more usable, we're now going to be implementing a phased delivery. So we'll give you the first phase of the report at the beginning of September, the second phase of the report in the beginning of November, and the third phase of the report, which will contain all of our comprehensive data and recommendations next year at the beginning of March. The other big change that we've incorporated is obviously the Live Local Act was passed, as I said. The legislative delegation spoke about that. One of the things they didn't mention, which I'm sure you all are aware of, is SB 102, the Live Local Act prohibits local governments from implementing rent control ordinances. We were originally planning to do a rent control ordinance analysis. Now what we're going to do instead of doing that is we're going to replace that with a broader policy response analysis. So that will basically encompass two different things. First of all, rather than focusing on rent control as kind of an exclusive solution to the affordability problems here and the housing distress, we're going to explore kind of a broader array of measures that you could implement that would impact housing conditions and mitigate different forms of housing distress here. The other thing we're going to do too is, in addition to SB 102, there were a number of pieces of legislation that were passed during the session that will impact housing and that basically regulate what you're allowed to do with regard to housing. So what we're going to do is kind of comb through those pieces of legislation to kind of forecast their impacts on the city. And the other thing we want to do, of course, too, is, as the senator said, SB 102 makes available over $700 billion for affordable housing development. So we want to kind of analyze how you can sort of maximize your ability to utilize those funds and set yourself up in the optimal way to benefit from them. So we'll give kind of an analysis of that as well. And then there were just a couple minor budgeting things that we changed. So you had generously agreed at our last presentation to allot $5,000 for translation services. FAU has an indirect cost rate that we have to apply to our budgets. So we had to make a modification to that for the budget if you'd like us to have the $5,000 available to actually utilize that. Second thing was we just made our direct cost budget a little bit more flexible. Over the last 6 weeks, I've been sending out a lot of public records requests. I think the county probably hates me at this point. But some of the processing fees associated with those requests were a little bit higher than we anticipated. So we're not asking for additional funding. We're going to use some of the funding we had allocated for transcription to cover those processing fees. So basically, those are the changes that we've implemented. And to give you kind of a brief summary of what the overall study would look like if you approve it, is there will be these 3 phases. By September 4th of this year, we'll deliver the first phase. That will provide a report that determines whether a housing emergency is present in Lake Worth Beach. And just kind of a preview of some of the data that will contain. We'll provide data on how housing costs have kind of changed over the last several years and how those cost increases compare to historical norms and expectations. We will provide comprehensive data on the type and level of housing distress that's present in Lake Worth Beach. So figures on things like eviction, rates of overcrowding, et cetera, to give you a sense of kind of some of the forms of distress people are dealing with. We'll identify the main causes of the price appreciation in the city, as well as the main causes of the housing distress that people are facing. And then we will provide you with our short-term vacation rental analysis, as well as our analysis of how an ADU program might impact housing conditions here. In the second phase in November, for our second report, we will provide you with our forecast of the impacts, the new legislation from this past session, how that will impact housing conditions here, and sort of our analysis of how to, maximally utilize the new resources that are available for affordable housing development. And finally, in the last phase, we'll provide you with all of our comprehensive recommendations. And the other thing that last report will have is a lot of data on basically, I think, the human consequences of the housing situation here in Lake Worth Beach. So with all of the price appreciation, the displacement, what kind of impacts is that having on households? What impact is it having on people's economic vitality, on their well-being? We will document how housing changes that have happened here over the last several years have been kind of distributed across the city. Has price appreciation been more severe in some neighborhoods than in others? Has the kind of character or kind of neighborliness of certain neighborhoods changed due to people getting displaced from them? We'll have an analysis of the impacts housing costs have had on important social institutions here. So for example, has it impacted the schools? Has it impacted the ability of local businesses to recruit and retain qualified workers? We'll also have data on sort of the incidence of illegal housing practices in that report. So things like discrimination, extortion, et cetera. And then most importantly, after combing through all of the data and analyzing everything, we'll present to you our kind of, suggestions for the measures and actions that you could take that would mitigate and hopefully eliminate some of these different housing problems that are present. So that's kind of an overview of how we've changed the study, and I welcome any questions that you all might have for me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. I have to say, I've been skeptical of this from the beginning. And I continue to be skeptical. It sounds like a wonderful research project for FAU students to work on. But I can tell you why there's a housing shortage. People aren't making enough money. The rents are too high. They need to make, I really just how has the, how short-term rentals, how are you going to decide where they are and how they actually have an impact? I mean, I'm a very practical person, and I just don't see any practical application to this. There's some talk of maybe if we apply for some grants, it would be helpful to have, but we're talking about $60,000 now. We don't know how much money we're going to get from the county for affordable housing from that big chunk of money. So how do we, how do you even talk about that? How can you address that if you don't know how much we're going to get? So I hate to be, negative about that. I'm pretty positive about most stuff, but this is just, I read this and I just think interesting, but what does that $60,000 bring to our city? Besides, it's all going to be sort of speculative. It's all, you're going to be reading reports, and I read your thing. You're going to be reading reports that other people have put together and put these reports together. And again, I think it would be a very interesting college project, but I don't see how it's going to affect this city in a direct way. And that's just my 2 cents about that. I just don't, I see this as very theoretical and very sort of out there in terms of academics, but in terms of $60,000 for my city, what are we going to get? We're going to get a report that says people are poor and rents are too high. And we know that. So, Commissioner Lega, I think you were first.
I hear what you're saying, Mayor. I was on the fence as well. My only thought process on it now at this point is that to have something tangible in our hand when we have a senator or a House representative fighting for us and saying, listen, we have the data. We're not just spewing, hey, we have a housing crisis. We're showing we have a real need. And we are losing some of our community members. It was on the news last night. Guatemala Center is facing a huge challenge of people who can live here right now, feeling threatened to live here. We have the short-term rental conversation that we still have not breached. So I think $60,000 is a lot of money, but if this $60,000, if I can see our return on investment with finances coming from the local government, being the county, housing partners, that we've had 3 partners here tonight that are housing partners, to show why they should invest here versus Boynton Beach, Delray Beach, or any other city, to me, we're going to get that return on the investment. I don't, if we're all going to the same pot of money, the person who's got the data is going to has a better chance of getting the money. So I too was on the fence, and I wrestled with this when it first came to us. But to me, if we can, the only thing I wish that, we could see, I would love to have this report in my hand in the next 4 months, because this money, once it's out there, it's going to dwindle quickly. And I know that's asking a lot, but to me, if we're spending the 60,000 and, can we crunch the timeline a little bit? And I know that's asking a lot, but I really, to look at going and getting the final report in March of 2024, we're going to, that's way too far away for us not to be able to go after the money now. So I would just like to see if we could move that timeline up.
We phased it.
Right.
So that you can have some data at some level.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Can we hone in on some of those phases, being a final report on how ADUs is affecting us? Phase 1, here's how ADUs is affecting us. It's taking this many rentals off the, out of our port.
We don't know where they are.
We do. Just go to VRBO and Airbnb and you can find them. But to me, I would like it to be a more quick use tool. And I know that, now I'm having the microwave effect, right? I want it now. But to me, because this money is going to go fast, if we can have these phases tighter with more data, like here's phase 1, take this report and run, try to get money with it, right? Like here's phase 2, go get money for this. I just wish that we could hone it down a little bit so we could be more effective and we could see our return on investment faster to be more impactful to our community. That's my only concern.
Mr. Diaz?
Thank you for coming around on that, because that's such a critical reason of why we need this, right? We need to make informed decisions, but also when we go lobby in Tallahassee, it's just serves us better, and our chances are increased when we prove to them that not only do we have the information of what needs to happen, but we also invested in taking that step to make an informed decision. That's such a critical tool for lobbying that really, I'm confident will help us in the future. The phasing, I definitely hear you. Like most studies, we wish we could have them immediately. And I think we're going to get some interesting things, as we go through the study and through the different phases. But something that we shouldn't really gloss over is there are things that we can do. Growth management is really limited in Florida for sure these days, and every session that gets attacked, but there are still things that we can do. And that's kind of, I think, a big part of this study is the policy recommendations and looking at what we have and what we're doing as a city and what we can improve to, improve that housing situation, whether it's ADUs or short-term rentals, whatever it may be. There's all kinds of, policy changes that we still for now can do, given, DO allows us to, Department of Economic Opportunity allows us to do. So, I'll move to approve this agreement.
Commissioner Stokes?
Same thing. I hope that if something emerges sooner than you expected to, you might be able to write a brief or something, send us something. Obviously, I wouldn't want you to cut any corners or anything, but if something emerges, not to have to wait until the actual date to pass it along. I was pleasantly surprised when we saw the update from our legislatures when they were doing the list of appropriations, because we always talk about how we need things for economic development and tourism and infrastructure, but I saw things on there like $1.25 million for YMCA and money for Magnolia Park for road improvements. I was like, what? They're giving a city stuff that you would never expect to ask for? Like, why do they give money for road improvements? Everybody needs money for road improvements. So it might be interesting to look at some of these appropriations, and when everybody in the state needs money for road improvements, what did they do to get that? When everybody in the state is suffering from consequences of increased housing costs, what are we going to do to make sure we're getting that money? And I think because of our neighborhood, and I think we have a lot of reasons that we do feel the impact stronger than other communities. And I think that this study can help us go after some of that money and show that this is a serious issue for us. Our need is here. Our need is great. And it does seem like there's money for things that aren't always so typical that's available out there.
Question one, is there a housing emergency in the city of Lake Worth Beach? Yes. Maybe I'm just being cranky and I apologize for that.
I don't think there are yes or no answers.
Would you like me to respond to any of the concerns, or I can?
My
Yeah.
limits are too high. I mean, it's kind of basic. So, I mean, again, I hate to be, if I'm proven wrong and we get a lot of money because of this, I will absolutely admit my mistake. And I hope that I'm wrong.
I second the motion.
Okay, Mr. Diaz has his light on again.
Madam Mayor? Sorry, I'm here. One thought, sorry, because I know we have the timeline and it's kind of tight, but with the delegation being here, next year session starts in January. So I know September is the first milestone, but the next one's not till a little later. Is there any way to maybe get something with the mindset of asking the legislature for money by October? Because I think their committees start in October, November. So that's not directly outlined here, but I keep hearing everybody talking about funding. Well, the ship's going to sail if we don't have something to the legislature by October, November. So if there's any way you could maybe tweak some of that to, if the commission agrees.
That's exactly why my light is on.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I couldn't see your light.
Sorry about that.
But
She hides her.
Great
hides
minds
your
think
light. She's very subtle.
We don't see your light.
Mr. Diaz, did you have another comment or do you want to turn your light off?
Yeah, just quickly. I mean, Glenn is definitely right. October is when we need to be ready with our sheets, and I suspect that by then, hopefully, we can have something to have an ask. But I do want to highlight, I'm glad Commissioner Stokes brought up the report we had. If you noticed, a lot of those projects were Lake Worth Lagoon projects, and that's because of Senator Powell and his hard work, but also Lake Worth Lagoon Initiative, they took the initiative, if you will, to invest in Lake Worth Lagoon Management Plan, which they spent a lot of time on. It's very thorough, it's very extensive, it's a lot of research, and that along with all of the other data and planning for the projects that we asked money for, all of that works together to increase our likelihood of getting funding. Because typically, especially in Florida and environmental projects, Palm Beach County for years was not exactly the priority. That's why I think our county office is so strong, because they had to operate for so long doing things within the county. And we've improved by making informed decisions, by doing the preliminary work that's needed to better our chances in Tallahassee. So thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I did have a comment with my agreeing with the city attorney. But what I was going to say also is that I already have an appointment with our lobbyists, because we both agreed that we'll be starting our process sooner and earlier. And so we will come up with projects. So we have a meeting in 2 weeks. So we're already on the books to make that process happen so that we can be more prepared. We will study some of the projects that we've seen that were funded in this legislative session and learn from them, and also be prepared and work with the needed projects within our.
I want to see a result from the 60.
We're
$950,000 to Green Acres for a park for crying out.
Yeah, I mean, when I looked at that list, I'm like, well, I don't think they had a study that said we need a park. We have a public comment, Mr. Reed. He's a very active citizen tonight.
Jonas Reed, 1325 North End Street. I share your concerns, Mayor. I don't see $64,000 being spent wisely in this decision. I don't think any of us are remiss in the fact that we're in a housing crisis. I don't think any of us are unaware of the fact that the reason we're in this housing crisis is 1,000 people a day move to Florida. We are a hotbed for residential development. You can't find property that they aren't building houses on. Let's not also leave out the fact that most of the financial institutions on Wall Street are now moving down to West Palm Beach area. That's why if you drive up Federal, you see all of those mansions going up just north of the spillway. So I don't think throwing this money to FAU, while I'm sure the study will be phenomenal and I'm sure your students will do a fantastic job putting that information together, I don't see it coming for you guys to go to legislation with that data to make anything meaningful for the city. I don't think you guys should support this.
Okay. Thank you. I'm gonna have one last word. Everyone knows my feelings about this, but I also feel that it's important that as a commission, we present a fairly united front. So I know that there's 3 votes for this, and in the spirit of conviviality and colleagueness, with a clenched teeth, I will vote for it. But I really, really would be very critical as things come out. This is just a burr in my saddle, that this is a lot of money. And if it brings us money and in a year, I will be able to say, boy, was I wrong to vote for this because we didn't get any money.
I promise I will beat every legislature over the head with this.
We will do that. That's what we do. I mean, that's.
So we're gonna print it hardcover.
No, it's gonna be a thick, yeah, leather wrapped.
So that's just my feelings. But I do believe that a united commission is an important thing. So I will vote for it. And
So are we voting?
watching very closely. May I have a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Don't get me mad. I'll drive down. Really, this one I'm so conflicted about this. Usually I'm not. So thank you.
Looking forward
Get
to
those
it.
summer students working. Okay. Next up, new business A. I have some cards here. Oops. Did I lose a?
Can our staff Zoom when they have like one thing that they're gonna be here for 30 seconds for?
Yeah.
Oh, it's worth it to speak on.
Oh, we learned.
I'm a little scared to follow that item.
I'm getting cranky.
I'll be super quick. Good evening, Madam Mayor. I wish I was here for a more exciting item, but this is just a pretty typical contract for our field maintenance for our 5 active parks. And we did listen to you guys the last few meetings. We put an emphasis on organic chemicals and pesticides where applicable. So we've worked with this company before. It's really important to keep these fields in good condition for safety of play. These are our program fields, and yeah, it's pretty basic: cutting, mowing.
Second.
But yeah, I did. That's one thing I was looking for, and I have organic was very important. Thank you very much. I have a second. There's no public comment. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
City Hall. Oh, yeah. Okay. Next one, City Hall Annex Building Assessment.
Good evening, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Brown.
For the record, Jamie Brown, Public Works Director, Interim Assistant City Manager. So this item is for our City Hall annex. I don't want to shock anyone, but it was built in 1916 and it may be due for some repair.
They don't build them like they used to.
So what we need, we need a full building assessment, which is what this task order is for with WGI. They are one of our CCNA contractors that were bid that we just closed the CCNA process. So this includes basically the entire building, all of the MEP, mechanical engineer,
Structural,
mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural, the whole deal. As well as we do not currently have any digital documents as far as CAD files for the actual current building layout. There'll be a full building scan as well. So at the end of this process, we'll have that as well. But no matter what we end up doing with the facility, because obviously we've had multiple conversations as to what the future may be. This is kind of the beginning of everything. Like we have to know what needs to happen with this facility before we really move forward. And whether that's customer service coming back in or whatever that could be, we need to know what's going on with the building and what needs to be done. So we'll also have, as part of this process, an actual probable cost for all of those associated fixes. So
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Motion to approve, although I'm very afraid to see what those costs are gonna be.
Do you know if they've taken all those files out of that one room on the first floor? When you walk in that sliding door to that first room?
I do not, I've not looked in there lately. I know they did take some out, but I haven't looked in there.
I thought that was a strain on that whole building. Commissioner Stokes?
Just, do you know how long this is going to take to do this assessment?
That I do not know, because once they delve into this, depending on what they find, it might get a little more detailed.
So 1 month,
When will
3
they start?
years, like
Multiple months.
multiple months.
Yes, absolutely. Because after they do all the finding, they're gonna actually have to put all that into a document. They can.
It says it should be complete within 180 calendar days.
And so we think it'll take a lot of that.
Hopefully not as long. That's obviously got a little flex built in there, but I know we're talking multiple months. for
Okay.
sure. Hopefully it doesn't take the full 1.
And where customer service was is empty now, so it'd be easier access for them. So
Correct.
right now, we've got the bookstore, the
Museum.
museum upstairs. That's pretty much it that's in there. Great.
Correct.
Okay.
But I did want to remind everyone that, you guys did set aside 2 million in the ARPA funds last year. This is coming out of that.
Great. Okay.
So
Do I have a second?
Did I second? Second if I didn't already.
Okay. Oh, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. First reading of ordinance 13-2023, ballot language to confirm the single member districts. Mr. Torsivian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ordinance number 2023-13 of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, calling for a referendum of the qualified electors of the city of Lake Worth Beach to be held on March 19, 2024, as to whether section 2 of the article 2 of the city of Lake Worth Beach charter shall be amended to confirm the current single member election district boundaries and allow for the single member districts to be amended by ordinance after each decennial census to ensure that said districts comply with applicable law, providing for notice and advertising the referendum, providing for referendum canvassing, severability, codification, repeal of all conflicting laws, and an effective date.
Thank you. I guess we're supposed to understand one word of what you said. Ms. Stokes.
I had 2 questions. One is it necessary for us to use the word single member in this? I don't want this to confuse people. I don't want them to think that they're voting on whether we should have single member election districts, because that vote has already happened. That is already underway. This is just saying we have election districts, whether they're at large or whether they're single member, whatever. In my opinion, to this particular vote, if I'm reading, if this is my understanding, it's not relevant. This is saying we have election districts. Should we look at them to make sure that they comply with the law based on census data every so often without adding another layer of confusion?
I hear you. I'll look at that again, but I think that it is required because at-large districts don't have the same voting requirements of equal, one person, one vote as single member districts.
The study said that even if we didn't move to single member districts, that we should, because by having disproportionate districts, even if you're at large, you're narrowing the pool of who can run for a district or overcrowding a pool for who can run. So even whether they're single member or at large, you need balanced districts, was what I heard from the study.
I'll take a look at it again. The other thing that just happened is the legislature just passed a law that talks about single member districts. It mostly deals with school boards. So most people focus on school boards, but there was a sentence in there dealing with municipalities. I only saw that this morning. So
okay.
Between now and next meeting, I'll take a look at that and see what the impact that law may have on this.
Okay, I just want people to know what they're voting for.
Gotcha.
The second question I have is for the upcoming election, we have approved the redistricting of our current districts so that they are more balanced. Are those maps, is that what we're using for this upcoming election, or is that part of this vote where it said something to confirm
Right,
the current single member district boundaries? Like what is that confirmation doing?
Right, those maps are already approved.
So
You
those
have
are
them in effect.
set.
This is basically belt and suspenders saying the voters are confirming what you already did.
And
But you
saying we
already
should
did it
look at this every
10 years.
every 10 years to make sure that we stay in compliance. Okay, I just want to make sure that we can be as clear as possible. And then also we should consider, I know we're not trying to tell people to vote yes or no on anything, and legally we're not allowed to anymore, but making sure that we have some sort of way for voters to know coming into the election what it is that they're voting on. Like through some sort of either a statement that the city can put out, because I know this language has to be very like legal and tight. But if there's a way that we can put out something that helps clarify it a little bit more as we get closer to the election, just so people understand it in like layman's terms.
Right. This is becoming an issue, obviously, in light of the legislation from last year as to what you can and can't say. You can have things like public information meetings, but how many people are going to come to those? So we'll get with Carmen and come up with a roadmap of what you're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do.
Well, I'm looking forward to this because like we saw, we never redistricted and we got so far that it was a very drastic experience for us. So I think it's responsible to look at it every 10 years. So
After 100 years, what the heck?
Huh?
After 110 years, might as well do it. But this just says that it's divided into 4 single-member districts and they've already been identified. So now we're going to do it every 10 years. Commissioner Malega.
So I happen to agree with Commissioner Stokes. I highlighted all of this and I reread it like 15 times. I'm slightly educated. I voted on half of this and I still kept saying, okay. I put myself in a voter's shoes and said, okay, I'm running in, I'm voting. I'm looking at it going, what does this even mean? So are people going to take the time to digest what they're voting on? Are they going to skip over voting on it? Because you can see when, the voting polls come out, if you have 250 people who voted for one of our seats and then we'll have 12 people who vote on this. I'm scared that the language is too confusing, that it goes back to it keeps referencing single member election. And I don't want people to think that they're re-voting on that because we had to redistrict.
Okay.
So, I literally, I couldn't wrap my head around it. And I don't know if we can clean it up or take out, maybe only use the single member district boundaries to allow for election districts to be amendment, cut it out of the second part of the language.
I'm hearing you. We will take a look at that. And I would like to keep it on for second reading for June 20th because that new state law that I talked about takes effect July 1st.
Right.
So I'm not sure what impact that's going to have. I'd rather get this in before that was effective.
How it's going to translate because we have ballots in multiple languages. And again, there's a confusion point that I want to make sure that people know what they're voting on.
Lose the legalese, get the plain English.
So there's going to have to be a vote on the 19th of March. Moving these single member districts like the outlines of.
Most importantly, what it's doing is authorizing the every 10-year every 10-year redistricting. That's really what you're doing. You're authorizing.
I thought we already, we had the referendum and they passed it.
And that authorized a single member district.
Right. And then we had an ordinance that adopted them.
But this is to look at.
But this is to require that every 10 years.
I'm missing something because it's like every 10 years we have to do this again.
Isn't that we were told that that's what we should have been doing?
Yeah, but no, absolutely. So I don't know why we have to.
So it's going to put it in your charter, so you're required to do it every.
But that's all we're saying. That's all this referendum is that we approve. Why does it have to be a referendum if the state law says we have to do it every 10 years?
The state law doesn't say we have to do it.
Because the charter can be amended by referendum. You can amend the charter by ordinance. But I hear all your comments, so I'll take another look at all of this.
Mr. Diaz, thank you.
I could go on. Yeah.
No, look at the time. We have 1 minute.
Yeah. Just very quickly to to Commissioner Stokes and Malega. I mean, just thinking out loud here, who's the onus going to be on to inform the public? I mean, I feel like when this goes, for example, at the beginning of the process, when it started through charter review, maybe it's up to that group to come up with the literature and the messaging to be like, lay it all out in plain English. So
what if it doesn't?
But we can't be involved in that.
I know.
So we can't even have that conversation. I think for us as electeds, we need to make sure the language is as plain and simple as it can be for those who don't have the time to get educated on what it means, right?
Just out of curiosity, what happens if it doesn't pass?
I love you.
Well, your current districts are fine. The question of whether you can redistrict every 10 years would be the question, whether you're authorized to do that.
So the only thing this does is to say we have to do it every 10 years.
Yes.
So the next group of.
Now, I understand what that means. I mean, I get that. But Okay, so I thought we approved the boundaries, the
And
new
again,
boundaries.
this new legislation might obviate this whole thing, because again, they're requiring municipalities to look at their districts. So that's this
we
new
did.
legislation that just passed. Again, it mostly applies to school districts, and it talks about municipalities and single member districts. So I really need to read that, because I saw it this morning for the first time. But I read that and said, this could make this all moot.
Okay. Yeah, one last thing I had for this, reading it again. It says that we are going to allow for the districts to be amended by ordinance after each census, but I don't see any language requiring us to look at the census data and determine if redistricting is even necessary. So this is just saying that we can't. Is this just saying we can, if we decide we want to look at the census data every 10 years and then we determine that redistricting is necessary, that we're able to do so? Or does this actually say whoever's sitting up here every 10 years, you need to look at that census data to make sure you're still.
It says you shall obtain a study in line 122. So that's what you have to do. You have to do a study.
Don't look at
If the study establishes that the redistricting is required by law, that you redistrict,
Okay.
then the commission, you shall amend the shall amend.
Okay, thank you.
So the first shall is have the study done. And depending on what the study says, you might have to and you might not have to.
Okay, but that's not obvious in the.
So your issue is with the ballot title?
Well, it's, I think Flynn is hearing us, just making sure the voters know what they're actually voting on, what the intention of this is.
Okay.
Without reading all.
It will be more streamlined when it comes back.
Okay, thank you.
I promise you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. City Attorney,
Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, Miss Clerk.
I have to advertise this. It has to go in the paper on Thursday.
Right.
So I advertise by the title of the ordinance, so I need to know by tomorrow if that's going to change in any way.
It will change and you will have it before Thursday.
I'm sorry, I need it tomorrow because it's being published on Thursday.
Advertise by Thursday.
So
It will be in the paper Thursday. It has to be in
You'll-
10 days before, at least 10 days before the previous.
You will have it tomorrow, Madam Clerk.
We're letting you.
Okay.
You have 3 hours until it's tomorrow.
Yeah, so Mark, can you tell Judy that I'll be sending an amended ad?
Will do.
Thank you.
Isn't that convenient?
Did we have?
All right, so we,
Did we?
read the motion and did we do it? Did we vote on this yet? Motion, do you have a motion?
I don't have a motion or a second, Madam Mayor.
Motion to approve.
Second? By?
Oh, second.
You haven't, I mean, you have it all night. I'm like, go.
He's mellow.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. Now we have the last but not least, city attorney's report,
He's gonna be working on.
right?
I'm going to be working on this. That's my report.
That's it?
That's it.
Wait. Where are we on, just a quick update on the weapons signs for the buildings?
We have some language that I think I've shared with both you and Carmen. I'm not sure where we are in terms of implementing it.
Right. I was waiting for the city attorney to return from vacation as well as me.
Okay.
So you mentioned it was suggested having it in multi-languages. So we meet on Wednesday.
So we'll get an
So
update via
we'll have
email.
an after tomorrow.
And it looks like Gled's not sleeping, so
I'll stand up.
motion to adjourn.
Second.